Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome into On the Hunt, where we are going on the hunt tonight with my good friend, Mr. Matthew Delph. He's got a nickname, y'all. It's the Badass Monster Hunter. I was about to call him that first. Y'all know Matthew Delph. He's been on the show before, and he and I do a lot of conferences and stuff together, and we're also on some teams together. We go out and do some Bigfooting and things like that. So you guys are in for a treat tonight. We are going down a rabbit hole with Matthew tonight. He's had a lot of experience with cryptids, and we're going to hear all about it tonight. So you guys go get the popcorn and buckle up, because we're in for a wild and crazy ride tonight. And Matt and I are also friends. Okay, like we're friends, and so this is going to be a fun conversation tonight. And so thank you guys so much for all the support you guys have given me all week. We've had some great shows so far. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had shows. And man, if you guys missed that Thursday show, please go back and watch it. We had Gerald and Jane of Midwest Night Watchers here. And we went over my coordinate remote viewing data of petrified giants. And man, that went down that's a rabbit hole right there. And so that was one of the best shows, man. I mean, all my shows are the best. Okay. I think all my shows are the best. Okay. In my book, at least. Okay. But that was a really good one, y'all. So please go back and check that out if you missed it. It was fantastic. And so maybe we're getting to the bottom a little bit as to like what some of these petrified giants are. And yes, I do believe that giants roam the earth, and that's a big old axe and those are stumps. Okay. So anyways, that's not what we're talking about tonight. Tonight, we're talking about cryptids and UFOs and extraterrestrials and all that good stuff. So if you guys would like to come and hang out with me in person, I will be at a public event next week. I'm going to be down at the Full Disclosure Now conference. That is in St. Petersburg, Florida. Okay. And this is the flyer for that. There's a whole bunch of speakers on there. I am speaking on Friday. So if you guys want to come see me on Friday. You got to get there real early, because I'm I am the first speaker of the day on the main stage on Friday. So y'all come see me at that. It lasts all week. I think it starts on Tuesday and through Friday. Okay. But of course we will have new shows all next week here on the channel. So you guys come and see me no matter what. Okay. I'm going to be here too. But I'll definitely be down in Florida on Friday for that conference. So come see me at that. It's the fulldisclosuremovement.com if you guys want to get tickets to that. And let's see, I don't know if I don't still have the website to put up on the screen, but it's fulldisclosuremovement.com or .org if you guys want tickets. And I already know a bunch of people that are coming to that. And some people that have been on our shows before actually will be there. And it's going to be wonderful. So y'all come meet me down there at that. You can also find information on that if you want to just go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my social media links, all the events I'll be at. It's all there. Plus my Patreon is there, and my Etsy shop is called War Woman Goods. I do have one other event that I'm going to be at. I believe Matt's going to be at this one too. But it is the World UFO Conference. That's coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks, August the 2nd in North Georgia at Demarest, the World UFO Conference. James Rink is going to be there, y'all. And Mr. John Price with Alabama MUFON will be there as well. But y'all know James with Super Soldier Talk. He's going to be there with us. So y'all come see me at that too. All right. Well, let's get to our show tonight. Okay. Because I've got Matt here and I cannot wait to pull him up. Matthew Delph is the founder of Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization, otherwise known as MECRO. Matt's been researching cryptids for nearly 25 years, probably longer than that, after his first encounter in northern Indiana. And like I said, he's a guest speaker at a whole bunch of Comic-Cons, Bigfoot conferences, and UFO conferences as well. And he is the epitome of boots on the ground field researchers. And so we've spent a lot of time out in the woods hunting for Bigfoot and other stuff out there. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Mr. Matthew Delph, the badass monster hunter. What's up, Matt?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here, Matt. How you been?
I'm doing pretty good. A little burned up, a little itchy from sunburn, but that's part of the summertime, I guess.
It is. Tell the audience how you got sunburn. Where were you at?
I was in northern Indiana, where I actually had my first encounter on the, I was floated the Tippecanoe River last weekend, and it was supposed to be a 4-hour trip, and it turned out to be a 7-hour trip. So we ran out of adult beverages and everything halfway through it, and we got a little bit more sun than what we wanted. So I'm paying for it this whole entire week. But show must go on.
Well, I figured there were adult beverages involved. Okay, and it's a shame that you ran out of them. I mean, did you guys get lost or what? Why did it end up being so long?
No, where we normally went, it was like an 8-hour float, and then some friends of ours, they said no, we'll put in at this one spot and get out at this other spot, and it's only about 4 hours. And I had never been that routes I tell you had talked about, so we said okay, but the river was low, so that meant slow moving down the river, and it ended up being longer than a 4-hour. It was a 7-hour trip, and I'd say probably about 4 or 5 hours in as we ran out of beverages, and everybody was starting to get cranky, but it was still fun. We enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I have definitely taken some kayaking trips where things just did not turn out the way they should have turned out. Tubing trips. We took one tubing trip one time with a bunch of my girlfriends and some of their husbands and boyfriends. And we were up in Helen, Georgia. I think it might have been Helen. And we had more like copperhead snakes on the way. I mean, we're in tubes, okay, with our butts in the water. And there's nothing worse than, tubing and like copperhead swimming up next to you. And kayak, some of us were kayaking and canoeing. It was wild. But we ended up going the wrong way at a fork in the river. And it was a nightmare. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I'd say so.
But it was an adventure. And that's what you and I are all about, are adventures, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well, oh my gosh. Okay. So you and I was telling the audience that we do a lot of boots on the ground field research together. And, we might should have been out in the woods tonight, but I know, you live so far away and it was hot. It's hot, man. I wasn't really feeling like getting out in the woods tonight, but tell the audience a little bit about, your, first of all, MECRO and how you got into Bigfooting and doing the cryptid research.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people that know me, they know my first encounter. I was total skeptic. I was up northern Indiana. We had piece of property. It was on Sugar Creek that ran into the Wabash River, which ran into the Tippecanoe River, which Tippecanoe River is the river I floated this past weekend, or last weekend. And we lived out there, total skeptic about Bigfoot and all that stuff. Didn't, thought stuff was cool, but didn't really believe. I grew up out there in the woods and the creek fishing, hunting, all that stuff, and never imagined anything about Bigfoot being real. Well, my little sister had an encounter, and her and a friend of ours and my little brother were out in the woods, and they got chased out of the woods. My little sister said it was a monster chased them out. Ooh. They were in trouble because they were off our land, and everybody thought that was just an excuse that they was making up for being off our land. Well, comes to find out, later on, I actually had my life-changing encounter was when I was 21. I was deer hunting and thought I knew this land. I know the land, but I thought I knew everything that was there, but I didn't. It was the afternoon right before Thanksgiving that when I had my first encounter, turned me from a total skeptic to a knower within a matter of seconds. It was right before the weekend before Thanksgiving, and I was out deer hunting. Got out about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, and these deer would always come through this path about 4 o'clock, 4:30. And I had it pretty much patterned down, but the rut always changes the deer pattern. But I was pretty confident I'd at least see something, you know. Well, that afternoon, got out there, the woods totally quiet, and I thought that was kind of weird. No squirrels, no nothing that whole afternoon. And I had sit there, and it started getting dusk. No activity, nothing. So I started gathering up my gear, and this odor came through the air, and it stunk. It was nasty. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like the musky smell, but it's also kind of like rotten hay or something you can't really explain. It's just a nasty odor, and it was in the air. And then I heard some sticks breaking, and I thought, okay, this doe's coming down this trail. So I'm like, okay, it's not quite, you know, I might still be able to get my deer this time. Well, as it got closer, more aggressive it got. Trees are shaking, popping, snapping. And I keep looking, but I still can't see anything. These woods are super thick. And the trail that I'm right on this deer trail. You have to be right on this deer trail to get any type of visual. Well, I noticed as it's coming through, it wasn't right on the game trail. It was off to the right in front of me on the game trail. And it was trees shaking, popping. I thought it was a buck after a doe. And then it more aggressive it got. I thought it was 2 bucks fighting over a doe. So I'm super excited. And at that moment, I heard this scream. And it was an aggressive scream, but it was a high-pitched scream with a deep growl in it. And if you've ever heard the recording of the Muddy Monster out of Illinois, is almost identical to that. Their recording of its scream. And
I heard that.
It's pretty wild. I've got it. I'll have to share it with you sometime. Okay. But it come through the air, and I was like, what in the world is that? So as it got closer, I'm looking, and there's this little 15-foot gap in between these cedars and this tall grass on the other side of the trail. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when it changed my life forever. That 15-foot gap in between the cedars and this tall grass. I see this thing moving across, and it's 6 to 7 foot. It's bipedal. It's got long hair. I couldn't see the face. The light was coming through the canopy of the trees and stuff, but you could see long hair hanging off the side of its head, its arms. It wasn't big, bulky. It was kind of slender and lanky, and it reminded me of an orangutan. And it was like dark.
Skunky.
Yeah, exactly. And as it came closer, it looks like very similar to the skunk ape, the shape of the one that they had in Mayaca, that they had back in 2001. But it was slimmer and had long hair like that. And my mind went from, I was scared because this thing was being aggressive, but I was confused. I couldn't, my brain is trying to rationalize. I'm looking for something that's supposed to be on 4 legs, but it's bipedal. I'm looking at something that's not supposed to exist. My first thought was, is this somebody? What is this? And it had, yeah, there you go. Right there. Exactly. Yeah. It had the round shaped head. It wasn't cone shaped. And it was slinky. And it moved. It didn't make a noise when it moved, but as soon as it got back into those cedars, it let out that scream, and it threw a stick at me. And this stick went flying past my head, and it let up that deep scream with that growl. And I mean, it will cut right through you. And I was like, forget this. I don't know what this thing is. I'm confused. And so I take off running, and I have to slow down because I have to cross this creek. And my first thought is, this thing's going to snatch me up right here. Well, as I slowed down and I turned around, it wasn't there. But I had my gun up ready to shoot to try and, if it's fight or flight then. And I couldn't flight. Wasn't really an option where I had to slow down. So I turned around to shoot to slow it down. but I didn't see it. It wasn't on the main trail, but it let out that scream with that growl, letting me know, get out of here. So I got out of there, and it really put a chip on my shoulder. Everybody calls me badass monster hunter now because I go in head first, but I've actually, it kind of ticked me off later on because I've never ran from anything. And at that time I was confused, scared. So now anybody that's been out in the woods with me, some of them will tell you I go crazy at times when we have activity because I go head straight forward. I need to see this stuff. My whole mission now is to find out what this stuff is. But I've got more questions now than what I did when I first started. But that was the moment that changed my whole life, whole view. I went from a total skeptic to a knower within a matter of seconds, and it changed my life. So I started taking wildlife conservation courses, doing everything I could to learn more about nature. I thought I already knew, but I didn't. And started doing research on different bipedal animals. Of course, everything brought me to the whole Bigfoot. And I didn't do the MECRO thing. I wasn't real public about it until later on. And I think it was in 2017, a group of people had a Bigfoot conference in Harlan, Kentucky. So I went over to it, and I was listening to them, and I was like, man, these guys are kind of amateurs, you know. And they invited me out to the woods with them, and I was out and we were doing some tracking stuff, and they said, hey, why don't you join us? So I said, okay. So they decided to come up with a group name, and it was Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. I was one of the founding members, but all the others dropped out. So they left it all to me. So that's how Mountain Empire became. And I've really slacked on adding stuff to that channel, but you probably see as much on my Facebook now as you do on my Mountain Empire. I really need to put some more effort into it, to be honest. But
well, you're busy. You're busy. Sure. Listen, I know you're out there boots on the ground a lot, and you're just like me. Like when we go to speak at these conferences and stuff, they're usually if we're doing a Bigfoot conference or an event, it's right in the middle of Bigfoot country, right? Yeah, so it gives us the opportunity to go out there and go Bigfooting while we're, like after or before the conferences that we're speaking at. And, we did that not too long ago at the Georgia Bigfoot conference, you and I, and some of the guys like David. I just talked to David Pardue today. I was messaging with him out of North Carolina, and Ed and all the sisters, okay, that went out there with us. We had a really good time out there. We were able to drive, how was that, like 45 minutes, I guess, from where the conference was, and went Bigfooting that night. And you do a great job of documenting it, though. You really do. And you do have your YouTube channel is pretty awesome. I was just looking at your Facebook page, and you were at an event recently, that UFO festival, and you had gone up to the Brown Mountain Lights.
Yeah.
Man, that was cool. That's one thing that Barry Littleton, by the way, is in the chat tonight. You remember Barry?
Oh yeah. What's up, Barry?
Barry's here, and he's excited. You and Barry and I all met at the same conference for the very first time at Camp Disclosure in Helen, Georgia, back in, what was that, 2019 maybe, or 2020? I don't remember.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Something like that. We all met, and that event. Okay, so I guess it's okay for me. I can tell the audience about that video you showed us, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I talk about that video at least once a week. I swear, man, I talk about that video, and for the longest time, I never said who had that video. And there's a video, my audience knows it well. I talk about it. Barry Littleton and I have discussed that video so many times while we're going over some of the remote viewing targets that I've done. We're talking about ETs and UFOs and orbs and grays. And we talk about that video of these orbs that you have that are shooting past the camera in somebody's backyard, and they land on the ground. There's two of them, right? There's one at first. It turns into an alien. It runs around in circles, and then it turns back into an orb, and it shoots back up into the sky.
Yes. Yep.
Can we talk about that real quick? Because I've been wishing you would show that video on my channel for the longest time, and so tell us about it. Tell us. If you're comfortable to kind of tell us how you got it, and tell us why you haven't shown it to the public.
Well, if anybody knows MUFON and stuff, it's Angelia Shear. She was great friend of mine, research partner. Me and her were deep into this stuff, of course. She was pretty famous. She was MUFON Investigator of the Year in 2019. She was a state director of Tennessee. And she MUFON doesn't like, the Bigfoot stuff, kind of like the BFRO don't like the Bigfoot messing with UFO stuff. But me and her joined together and we, became great friends and great research partners. Well, we had this case and it was south of Nashville before you get into state of Alabama. And I believe it was a county right before Alabama, before you cross state line. Well, these people had some weird activity going on. And so she sets up these cameras. She's like, wish I'd set up cameras, whatever, So she sets up these cameras and she's got this video footage of these people's backyard, these orb lights coming down and, you see it running around the yard. And it turned into another light and shooting up and another one coming straight down from the sky. And then it's running around. Reason I haven't shown it though, I've shown it every, few people here and there, but I won't put it out on the mainstream media because Angelia was very firm on letting her witnesses and stuff that she would keep their identity safe, that she wouldn't put their stuff out there if they didn't want it out there. And so a promise that I'd made whenever, of course, she had the video and I recorded over it with the phone so I could have a copy of it was, we wouldn't put this stuff out there so people could see. It was for our own research and keep the people's identity,
Anonymous.
Yeah. And since she passed away, I'm still honoring that. Now I'll show it here and there, but I won't put it on the mainstream media or anything like that.
Well, let me tell you, the world. I've talked about it so much. It's kind of like the portal incident, right? At the Meadow. You were there that night, right? Weren't you?
No, I wasn't there.
There?
No, not that night. No.
Okay. Well, y'all, Matt and I are both on that same team. We're on the same teams, like I said, and we go out to the Meadow quite a bit, he and I. And it's kind of like that, it's like I've talked about it a lot, but we hadn't been able to really show the videos of these things, but they do exist. And people the whole portal thing is like public now. I guess Trey's kind of put it out there to the public. They're making documentaries on it now and stuff. But for years, that happened back in 2018 or 2019 or something like that. And,
yeah.
And so now it's just now kind of leaking out a little bit into the public, but this really did happen. We've been talking about it for a long time. Well, this is kind of the same thing where this is something that changed my life, honestly, by watching it. And I'm not saying that lightly, Matt. Barry and I both have agreed this is life-changing, seeing something like that, because we sit around and we contemplate, we do remote viewing targets, we theorize, we just think about, we fantasize about what are these things? What are orbs? What are aliens? And in that video that you have that you do show at conferences. Okay. So if you guys want to see this, Matt does show it when he's at conferences and he's doing public events. Okay. So if you guys want to see it, Matt he's not gatekeeping by any means. Okay. He is sharing it, but just like with anything that you put out online, Matt, things get corrupted, everything gets just picked apart, and that's okay. There's a lot of public scrutiny that goes into this, but it's even deeper than that because you had a pact with Angelia, your good friend from MUFON, and you promised her you would not exploit that family in that video. So yeah. I commend you for that. I do. Yeah. But nonetheless, that video changes things. It really does, right? Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's people are saying this and that, but I know, they say, oh, this footage is this and that, but I know the source of this video. I know it'd never be hoaxed, so the truth is out there.
Truth is out. Well, it's in your hands.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah,
it's in your hands. Like this video. I hope that you have put this video is stored somewhere very safe. Okay, and the world does deserve to see this one day. Okay, and because what it's showing is, we've always wondered, like, what is an orb? Okay. And we know that there are so many different types of orbs out there. Now, this is like a solid orb, right, Matt? It's like a solidless metallic.
Yeah, it's a solid.
It's a solid metallic. Now, you just said it was in Alabama. I didn't know it was in Alabama.
No, it wasn't Alabama. It was in Tennessee still.
Okay.
But before you get to Alabama, if you're going down Interstate 65, it's the county right before you cross into Alabama.
Okay.
And what's wild is my uncle Fritz lives in that county. And he was telling me, I don't know, maybe about 2 years ago, that he had this strange creature in his yard. And he told me that it showed up one day. It was a cross between a pig and a dog. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah. He said it was oddest thing. And he's got like 7 kids. And my cousins, they were telling me, they're like, yeah, he wouldn't let us take a picture or video of it. And the reason is, he said he shot it. He killed it. And he threw it on the other side of the creek. And he was scared other people that could be somebody's weird, strange pet. And he was going to get in trouble for it. So he wouldn't let him take pictures of it. But he said he had never seen anything like it. And it was a cross between a pig and a dog.
What?
Yeah. And he killed it. He shot it and killed it because it kept showing up at his house. And he was worried, what in the world is this thing going to do? He's got the kids around and they're kind of freaked out because this thing's rummaging. So he went out and shot it and threw it in his back. And that's the same county that video was taken. So do we have some kind of government crossbreeding stuff out there? Is there more to it than what we think, or what, Yeah,
I think so, Matt. There's some weird stuff out there, man. And this is kind of reminding me of my experience that I had when I was leaving the south, like the Talladega Forest. I went out there with my buddy Mark. By the way, y'all, Mark Green is coming on the show next Saturday night. He is my guest next Saturday. We're going to be here live with Mark Green, my friend that I was I was with a bunch of my friends out there in Alabama about a month ago. But he and his wife, Rebecca, are good people, man. Love those people. And Mark's coming on the show Saturday night. I was leaving an event, kind of a get together, a camp out they were having in Alabama. And I was by myself, Matt. I think I told you about this. And when I got about 5-6 miles down the road in the middle of nowhere, and I saw I still don't understand what I was looking at. It was a mix between a whole bunch of different types of animals. And it turns out the person who owns that property has been having dogman sightings out there and Bigfoot sightings. We're going to talk about it when Mark comes on the show next Saturday. But dogman sightings, I thought that it could have been a dogman, but it didn't look like anything I'd ever, like none of those charts that we show. Okay. And Kent Baxter, thank you for that super sticker. Says, hi, Jessica. Looking forward to another fantastic show, and welcome, Matt. Thank you, Kent. You are so sweet. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for your support. And let's see. I wanted to show this chart real quick because, we look at charts like this when it comes to, people's experiences with dogmen and Bigfoot. There's categories. Okay. That thing that I saw looked nothing like any of these things, really, unless it was like the hyena down there at the bottom, like the hyena type dogman, but it was all black. It was pitch black. All I could see were shiny white teeth. Okay. And it was showing its teeth to me, Matt.
Oh, wow.
And it looked
kind of like a grin.
It was like it looked like it was kind of grinning. Yeah. Kind of like it was gnashing its teeth at me.
A lot of reports.
Really?
Yeah, I have that. They say that it gives them a grin, like with its teeth.
Yeah, it may not have been smiling. I think it was just kind of like a pit bull, kind of how they look, when they kind of smush their face up a little bit and look like they're smiling. But it looked like an African dog, a panther, and a bear mix. That's what it looked like. Yeah, it's weird, right? So like the dog pig mix, that would make sense. There's just so many things out there that we don't know what all's out there, man. I mean, just weird mixes, and it could be some kind of weird government experiment or some kind of backyard breeder experiment. You know what I mean?
Well, you talked about the hyena type. There was it was in 2018, I believe, here in Lee County, Virginia, where I live at. This woman that my mom worked with, she's got a farm, and it was on this road she lives in this, had a horse killed, and it was ripped apart. And then 2 weeks later, a mile down the road, another horse was killed and ripped apart. It wasn't eaten, it was just ripped apart. Well, I had 5 different witnesses say that they seen know nothing about these horse kills, but they had seen a hyena type creature run out in front of them in the road in that same area. And they said it was super fast, real bulky upper body. And I asked them, was it a wild boar? They said, no, it wasn't a wild boar. They know wild boars. They know mountain lions. They know bears. And these women are pretty credible. They grew up on the farm their whole life. And there was 5 different witnesses claimed to that they had seen this creature in that same area. Now, the local vet here, they usually contact me whenever they get reports of livestock, stuff like that. And I talked to the wildlife control guy, and he had told me that he wrote it up as a bear attack, but he didn't know what it was. He said there was no bear tracks. It was whole area was just messed up. The steel fence post was bent. If you've ever seen a steel fence post, them things are pretty solid, and it was just bent over. And he said he thought it got it when it was in the water because it got in the pond, and that's where the body was found. And I told him, no, a horse will go to water when a predator is after it. It will go for, if you've ever watched some of those wildlife videos, especially like zebras or something when lions are after them, they'll usually try and get in water because things will have to try and swim to get to them. And it kind of, keeps them from being attacked. But this thing, it just mutilated it. And then I've had a lot of reports. Now, this area goes back to a wildlife conservation area. It's federal government land, and they've got a warning, no trespassing, violators will be prosecuted. And I'm like, why is that here in the middle of the Appalachian, all this land, and why are they putting no trespassing signs? And they put an airport in here. This town that I live in is like population 800. Why do they have a small airport 20 minutes down the road from me that you might see a plane come in once or twice? Now, if you ever seen the shows Monster or Mountain Monsters, right, with Huckleberry and all those guys?
Yeah.
It's a funny show. Yeah, it's really entertaining. They've been up here 3 times, I believe, doing 3 shows up here. And I got drunk with Huckleberry one night.
Oh, Lord.
And
what?
Yeah.
Imagine that. I bet that was a fun night.
It was. We, outside our hotel, they threatened to kick us out because we were being too rowdy. But that's a different story.
I am not surprised.
It was kind of cool because, of course, Huckleberry was telling me, that, the show, we all know, is entertainment. But he said all the eyewitness reports and stuff like that are usually pretty legit. Mm-hmm. And he warned me up here. He asked me if that hyena type thing had a tracking collar on it. And I told him, I do not know. And that's all he said. He said, do you know what to do? You know what to think after that? He said, be careful up there. And I'm sitting there thinking, the government's got a fenced off area up here. They are, got an airport all of a sudden in this little area. Yeah. And we're seeing all kinds of activity. I investigated a Bigfoot crossing the road, this one area out there. What was it, 2 years ago? And these people told me exactly where it was. I went there the next morning. I found tracks. Guess where it's going right into? The wildlife area.
Were they Bigfoot tracks?
Yeah, they were big old tracks. Yep.
Yeah.
Going right into the wildlife area.
Oh, yeah.
So all the reports around here are around that area. My great grandma and grandpa used to live up there. And of course, I never thought about it until just past few years. But we were up there, and I hated going up there because, of course, I grew up in Indiana. You can't tell by the accent, but I grew up northern Indiana. And we come down here on vacation. And this is like in the 80s and 90s. My great-grandparents didn't have electricity or running water, and they lived up here in the Appalachian Mountains. So we'd park at the road, and we'd have to hike up to their house. Well, we get up there, and this is the same area. I was talking about all these sightings up here in Lee County. And as we're hiking up there, it's kind of a long trail up to their house. Well, we get up there, and there was one time, our great-grandpa told us, he said, you might want to get going He said before dark because the old man of the woods is back.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, we thought it was some hobo or something, you know, but it was kind of weird because I started to venture off into this one area and he said, no, don't go down there. That's the devil's down there. I thought it was just something to scare me with, you know, but there's more to it, you know, as I listen to the stories and stuff. And I think back now, because I remember us showing up one morning and there was a whole box of nails that was out on their front porch and it was sitting up. All the nails were faced up out of the box, all lined up on the porch. And we're like, what in the world? And of course, my great grandpa tells us, he said, yeah, I told you, it's the man of the woods is back. And he's the one that done that. He paid us a visit last night. So, you know, my whole thoughts now, I wish they were still alive so I could question more. And me and my dad went, I don't know, it's a couple months ago, back up to that area, drove up this old road to see if we could find the old house, but it was dark and we couldn't find the house. But I'm wanting to go back up there and see if I can't find the old house. At least the foundation of it, I believe, is probably still there.
Oh man! So this goes back generations with your family knowing of wild men and the old man of the woods, probably Bigfoot, wild men, things like that. And man, I know I've had a couple of buddies on the show. I just had Rob Effler on the show. You remember Rob from the conference we've been doing?
Yep.
And I asked him the other day, one of the questions I asked him, he just got real silent. He didn't answer me. And I thought, dang it. I said, what kind of secrets do these Appalachians hold? You know, what do y'all know that we don't? And I don't think he answered me. So lots of questions go unanswered up there with folks that live around the Appalachians, right, Matt?
Oh, definitely. The Appalachian Mountains. I mean, this area is like no other. It's like you go back in time. It's a totally different world. These people are set in their ways. Like I said, I moved from northern Indiana, an hour from Chicago, got a northern education, all that stuff. But you come down here and it's like you go back in history, at least 20, 30 years. These old roads, these old homesteads, they're a little bit spaced. A lot of them are abandoned mine towns. These mountains, though, are some of the oldest in the world. And I believe there's entities that live in these mountains. You got all kinds of different stuff. You got crystals and quartz and stuff all through these mountains. Just a hotbed for ancient activity. All along the mountains there. You've had different stuff from, where does it start? Appalachian Mountains, down in Georgia?
Down in Alabama. To Georgia, and then it goes all the way up to New York.
Maine, into Maine.
Speaking of New York, what's up, LIB? Thank you for being a member for 15 months. I appreciate you. Sorry, Matt.
No, that's okay.
Long Island Bigfoot a shout out. He's up in New York.
But these Appalachian Mountains, I mean, you've got so many different things, so many different entities that, you know, it's kind of hard to describe. It's just magical. The whole woods here, it's like you're in a different realm. You go deep into these woods, places where probably people haven't stepped in centuries, if that, you know, all these cave systems. We've got all kinds of folklore about these areas, like Brown Mountain Lights. That's been going on since way back it's first documented in 1700s with the England had sent somebody over to scout the area, and he wrote about it in his journals about these weird lights up there in Brown Mountain Lights. And of course, nobody knows what they are. They tried to prove them. They couldn't prove this. They said it's swamp gas. It's not swamp gas, anything like that. Politician Ralph Lale, he went into the Follow North, one of the lights supposedly, and it went into a cave, and there was aliens in there, and they made him promise to if he promised not to tell everybody where he'd went into, then and if he tried to enlighten mankind to raise our vibration, not quite be so destructive, that we was going to destroy the earth, and you know, all that good stuff for him to go out and be I guess what would you say, a voice to, you know, better ourselves. that they would allow him to come back, and he didn't tell nobody, where he'd went. So he went in there and he come back out, and they let him take a mummified alien body with him. And he had it in his display in Hickory, North Carolina in his furniture shop. And they actually, government or somebody came in, took it, and it was all hush hush after that. So, of course, I've been to the Brown Mountain. If anybody's seen my videos, I've got 2 videos. I've been there 5 times. A lot of people have been there for years and never seen nothing. I was there 5 times. The last 2 times I've had activity. This last time was pretty wild. If you watch my video, I show up there. I sent you a couple pictures of the lights. Yeah, that's the gorge. That's the Wise Man's Overlook. I'm up there by myself. There's a couple up there when I get up there. Now, this road off a paved road is like 4 miles up a mountain, up and down these valleys, and 4-wheel drive always goes up and down through there. You got to have 4-wheel drive. But me, I had my Honda Civic, and I took it in there anyhow. Everybody's looking at me like, what in the world? But as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but there's a light. I videoed a light. It was a live video. There was a couple up there. They left. As soon as they left, this fog that was down in the gorge had come up. I'd seen that light over by Table Rock. I don't know if you can see it in that video. It's real faint, or in that picture. But a light appears. It's floating around Table Rock there. Then down in the gorge, the Linville Gorge, this fog is coming in. Now, as soon as that couple left, a big storm was coming. That fog, within 20 minutes, was up on top of me. I mean, it had come from that down in the bottom of that gorge. Now, in that fog, you can see it way over there to the right in that picture. Within 20 minutes, it was up there where I couldn't even, it got so bad, I couldn't even see to walk back to my car through the trail. I had to search the ground for the trail. There was a light in that fog. And I sent you a picture of the light that was coming up. I was standing on the edge. If you can see that concrete thing, I was standing on the edge of it, and it's down in there. And that light was coming up with the fog. And it's like it had an intelligence with the fog. It was going with the fog as it moved.
Oh,
what it was, I don't know. Were there aliens in there?
Oh,
I believe there's actually aliens in there, because the time before I was there, we seen lights that were huge and they flashed. They were gone, like a big spotlight, and then boom, it was gone, like it had went through warp speed through a portal or something. So there's something up there with those mountains for sure. And as soon as that couple left is when that fog started creeping in. And within 20 minutes, it was on top of me. It was storming. And I was afraid I was going to get flooded in down there, because it was already rough getting my little car down in that area. And then all of a sudden, this big rain came. And I was like, man, I'm going to get stuck down here. I barely got service. I barely had service right there at the Wise Man's View. After that, you walk out from there and no service for miles. I was like, man, I'm going to be one of those missing 411 cases. But
oh, God.
I always tell everybody I'm not suicidal. So if I ever disappear, then, I didn't commit suicide. But that was, a couple of weeks ago. I was up there by myself, of course, like always.
Yeah.
But
do as we say, not as Matt does. Okay?
Yes, exactly. Everybody says
Matt,
don't.
You're always out there by yourself.
Yeah, always. If I get a hunch at 3:00 in the morning and I know a certain area and something hits me, I'm like, I need to go check this out. I need to do that. I do it. It's spontaneous, but I need answers.
It yields results too, right? When you're by yourself.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I mean, if I don't know if it's just me, but it's like after I had my first encounter, it has raised. It took me out of channel 1. Now I'm seeing channels 2, 3, 4, and 5. And anything paranormal, anything weird, strange like that, it's like I'm attracted. Like I walk around with a light bulb over my head now.
Yeah.
I mean, like you talked about here, the Appalachian Mountains, they talk of Skinwalkers. You've heard all the stories. I believe I've had an encounter with Skinwalker.
Ooh, tell us.
Yeah. You've heard the video. It was a full moon. It was on a Friday 13th, September 13th, 2019. Full moon, Friday 13th. And I was on my way back from, I believe I was over in the Smokies, over in Gatlinburg.
Mm-hmm.
It was 11:30 at night, and as I'm driving up into Cumberland Gap, right into the state line there into Virginia, this strange-looking wolf creature comes running out in front of me. I slam on the brakes, and as I slam on the brakes, I'm on the telephone at the time to an ex-girlfriend of mine. I'm like, "What the F?" You know? And she's like, "What? What is it?" And I said, "This strange, mangy-looking mutt is out here in front of me." And it gives me this look like, "Watch it, buddy," because I about hit it. I thought for sure I was going to hit it. And as soon as it looked at me and it took off across the road and jumped into the woods, I get a phone call. Now, my phone, it'll always show the number or restricted if somebody's blocked it. This showed unknown. I've never gotten unknown calls. And it left that voicemail. It sounds like, at first I thought somebody was sneezing, but it sounds Native American. And it says, "Aho." And I'm in a couple Native American groups, and it left that voicemail. And I looked, and there is a greeting that says AHO, aho, or something like that, that they greet people in this Native American group. So some of it means hello. Some people say it means watch it, different things. But I firmly believe that whatever that was that gave me that look, as soon as it jumped into those woods, I got that phone call. And you've heard the video, you've heard the audio. I've still got it on my voicemail.
Matt, you played that when we were in a cemetery.
Yes.
In the middle of the night on top of a mountain in North Georgia, Bigfooting one night. And I was like, all right, Matt, that's enough. You kept playing it over and over again. It was kind of creepy. It definitely changed the vibe, actually, out there while we were in that cemetery. And that was the night that our friend Jamie's in the chat a lot now. And she and I and you, we went out and we went down that path that night, that road that was behind the gate. And she's the lady that was with us, and we found that track, that footprint. Yep. By the way, I do have a picture of that footprint, I think, that we found in the mud. I mean, it's hard to tell what that is by just looking at it right there because I don't have anything to reference it. But you can see the toe prints right there at the top. And it was a pretty good size print, actually. We found that night. But we were at a cemetery right down the way from there. And that was a creepy old family Appalachian cemetery, right, Matt?
Yes, it was. Yeah. It's wild because it's like a maze getting up to it. It's, you're going through all this weird wooded trees and
a labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly. But what was awesome, I keep thinking about, we looked up to the sky and you see how clear it was, how close those stars seem to be. Yeah. I've never experienced stars like that before, not like that at that volume.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful. That's why I recommend everybody get out in the woods if you can, out in the middle of nowhere like we were. You can see the Milky Way out there, and it almost doesn't look real, because there's so much light pollution down here where I live, and I don't even live in a big city, but it's just you just don't see the stars like that until you go out in the North Georgia Appalachian Mountains.
But it seemed like they were brighter that night. They were a lot brighter. I don't know for sure, but that's the same area where I've had a Bigfoot encounters, and I've had possibly fairy encounters in that same location.
Yes.
The fairy encounters, it was like 1:45 in the morning, and I got this urge, hey, need to go up there because we were there for a conference. And I was like, got this urge, hey, I need to go up there. So I tell girl I was with, Jamie, I said, come on, let's go up to the mountains. And she's like, 1:45 in the morning? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And she's like, okay. So we get up there. We go up to that same spot, the cemetery. And as we come out from the cemetery, this is in March. Lightning bugs aren't out yet. They come up from the ground too. And it's usually the end of May, 1st June. Well, these lights were up in the trees. And she's like, look, it's lightning bugs. I said, lightning bugs aren't out yet. And she's like, well, there's lights up in these trees. And there was a bunch of them. And she goes, there's fairies. She goes, I'm going to ask them if I can video them. And she's like, can I video you? And these lights had an intelligence to them. So they all come around us as she's videoing. and they're up above us, swirling around, and then they just poof, just vanish. And that's the same area that, what was it, 2 years before that? I was out there, and was out there with a friend of mine named John. He's done passed away. Another friend, George, and Lori Wade. You know Lori?
Lori Wade. Yeah, she was. I was with her up at the East Tennessee Squatch Out last year. We had a really good time. We spent a good bit of time out in the woods, at least one of those nights.
She was with us, and we had went up to that same area, and we parked right there. Yeah, and she's one of the good ones.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. She put a recorder, or they put a recorder on her vehicle, and we walked all the way down to that area that we went to, where you go to the gate and stuff. Well, on our way back,
creepy.
On our way back, we're walking, and the woods is totally silent. And as we get to close to the entrance to that cemetery, sounds like something is walking along that ridge with us. And I tell her, we're going to walk 7 steps, then we're going to stop. So we walk about 7 steps and we stop. And then all of a sudden we hear something up on that side there, and it goes, and we're like, okay, there's something following us. But it didn't sound very big. And I tell my friend George, I'm like, take a couple of rocks and do a clack. So he does a couple of rock clacks. Well, we get a response farther up the mountain, and it's huge, like big rocks being slammed together. And we're like, cool, So he does a couple more, and we're getting nothing. And then he does a few more, we're getting nothing. So I'm irritated at that point. I'm like, all right, so I pick up a big rock, and I'm cussing. I'm tossing the rock over that little bluff that's down there. And I'm saying, few choice words. You know how I can get sometimes. So I'm going off the rails at this thing, whatever it is. I'm like trying to provoke it, how I do. And whatever it was that's falling along the ridge tossed a rock, and it lands right in between me and Lori. Oh. And Lori starts freaking out. She's like, it's an effing juvenile. It's an effing juvenile. And so they're standing there like frozen and freaking out. And I'm white lighting. So I'm running up the edge trying to catch this thing as it runs up the side of the mountain. And it runs through that cemetery. And of course, I couldn't keep up with it. It was gone. So the next day I go out there, and that's when I found those 17-inch tracks. I believe I've showed you pictures of them. The ones with I put a tea bottle, a great big old Milo tea bottle next to one. And they went through there. But it weren't small tracks like what we had thought. These were huge. And it had found tree breaks that were 8 foot high in the air with the branch peeled back, going all the way up through the mountainside there. So,
oh wow,
you got all kinds of weird stuff that goes on out there. I think the veil is very thin there. You got all kinds of weird history stuff there.
Yeah, we do.
The whole mountains is like that, all the way up to the Appalachian Mountains.
There are, and we've got Amy in the chat tonight. What's up? Amy's one of the sisters. We had Amy, Leanne, and Jamie. And what's up, Amy? Thank you so much for being here and for hanging out with us that night. That was a lot of fun. They came to see us at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference that day. And I don't make it a habit of taking people out in the woods, okay? But we took them, and we had a blast. And Amy, you had some pretty good equipment, Amy, okay? You had better stuff than I did, okay? but nonetheless, we're just out there having fun, and that's what it's all about. But it can be really dangerous out there. And not only, do we have like our experiences out there, but we have a lot of Native American lore and legends, and that those didn't come out of nowhere. And that's actually what really has taken our team to a lot of these spots, the different teams that I'm on. We go to places because not only are there tales of Bigfoots out there and people have seen Bigfoots, we go where the action is, but there's long-standing legends out there of things like Spearfinger, my favorite witch. Okay. My favorite witch that I don't ever want to encounter if I don't have to, out there. But that's just how it is in the Appalachians, right, Matt?
Absolutely. They're the oldest mountains. I mean, you get out there, it's a different energy. It's a different feel. You're out there, and it's sometimes peaceful. Other times it's spooky. I mean, There's different things. I've seen different videos and stuff people keep posting, and it looks like what they call, a lot of people said that the rake or whatever was a creepypasta, wasn't real, but it came from something. It came from something, and there's a lot of creatures seen like that around up in the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of this stuff too, if you've done enough research, and it's weird because now I follow my research. Now I follow things that come to me. Prime example, I'm in North Carolina. I'm over in Burnsville. I'm leaving there. I got a wedding. My friend Dale's getting married in Nashville the next weekend. So I'm leaving out of there. Now, the night before, I went to see some of the Brown Mountain Lights, and I was on the Appalachian, the parkway there, and I see a black dog type creature. Take a picture of it out there in the middle of nowhere, just like off this bluff sitting there, and I thought that was weird. And then the next day, I came across a wild turkey out in the middle of the road, and I had to wait on it to, it just appeared out of nowhere. There was a truck in front of me, and all of a sudden, this turkey's right there in front of me. I'm like, I'm from. And then it flew up out of the road. So I get online. I'm Googling stuff in Nashville for hotels, stuff like that. A ad pops up about the Bell Witch. And I'm like, Bell Witch, what is this stuff about? I wonder how close that's going to be to where I'm at. So I start looking into the Bell Witch story. Well, John Bell, guess where he was from? North Carolina. Where was I at the time?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. He had 2 encounters with the Bell Witch first. His first encounter. Now you tell me, why in the world did I just so so I'm like, okay, I'm being led to the Bell Witch area. So I go there, but I felt that I had to be there on a Saturday, but I didn't have enough time to go there on Saturday, so I went on a Sunday. So I go into the Bell Witch cave. Sunglasses sitting at the front of the cave, identical to a pair of sunglasses I've been missing for several months at that time. They look identical. I'm like, are those my sunglasses? I'm like, I'm not touching them. I'm not gonna take them because this whole Bell Witch thing. But I was like, you know, I'm like, there's something to this. Stuff leads me now to my new investigations. I don't know why, but it's like I follow this trail now. I still don't know what was supposed to come of the Bell Witch thing. I don't think that's finished, though. I don't think my whole research on that area and stuff is finished yet. But like I said, after I had that encounter with that Bigfoot, everything has raised, and it's like I tracked all the strangeness, all the paranormal, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, if you ever go, don't take a piece of gravel with you home. Okay. I know I am notorious for taking a piece of quartz out of my locations where I go to do investigations. And I love quartz. It'll hop out at me. It'll pop out and I'll grab a piece and take it home with me. We don't do that at the Bell Witch Cave. Okay, Matt, don't forget. Okay. Don't.
Yeah. I didn't take nothing.
Yeah.
It was, well, you know, Jamie, she was with me, and we go into the cave, and she looks at me and she tells me, she says, there's a little boy in here running around. I said, what? She's like, there's a little boy running around in here. I'm like, really? So we go and we're talking to, I believe it's one of the niece of the owner of the property. And she's telling us about this one area. It's a grave there inside the cave. It was an Indian girl. But she said that there's reports of a little boy, that a ghost of a little boy in there. And she had told me right before we had even talked to that girl about it, that there's a little boy in there. And I was like, wow. So there's a lot to it. I don't believe it's a witch. I believe it's an ancient entity, that area. It's a totally different, you know, I didn't feel evil or anything like that, but I believe it can be if it wants to be.
Mhm.
But for some reason, it did not like John Bell.
It didn't. Well, I think he was cursed. Okay, and I think he had a curse on him. The land was probably cursed. But talking about ancient entities, okay, I want to go back to that dog that crossed the road, that strange dog, and it looked at you.
Yep.
It literally looked at you. That's like that thing that was on the side of the road. There were two of those things on the side of the road when I was leaving Alabama that night, late that night. One of them had its back to me, and it wouldn't turn around and look at me. It was so weird. And the other one was looking straight at me, but it was crouched down in the tall grass. And so somebody in the chat was asking, or they said they didn't know what a skinwalker is. And I know I'd try not to say that word too much. Okay, but if you were to, I guess the reason that we would think that could be an S-walker, let's just call it that, an S-walker, would be because your phone rang. And there was a Native American voice that said, ayo, aho.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I heard it. I've heard the voicemail. Okay, it sounds just like that. It sounds like a man forcefully saying "aho," like really loud. And
Yes.
And so that is why that would lead me to think maybe that could have some kind of S-walker element to it.
Well, there's so many burial mounds right here in this area, from dated back to the 1400s. So you've got what they called Cujo's Cave, which is haunted, Cumberland Gap Cave now. That's right next to where that entity had crossed the road, that wolf type dog.
Okay.
Now, you always hear spirits go to a higher. That's how they use the ghost box to go through, your different frequencies, stuff like that, radio frequencies. Well, this thing used my phone, different frequency to contact me, and whether it was I don't know if it's peaceful or what, but it was letting me know, I believe, hey, either, hey, how you doing, or thank you, or watch it, one of the two, because I about hit it. Now, a lot of people, the Navajo, they don't say skinwalker because it's taboo. They believe you attract stuff like that. Now, what a skinwalker is Native American that actually they will, it's basically a shaman that has kind of gone bad. And what they do is they take the skin of an animal and they become that animal. They'll put it over themselves and they'll become that animal. And you've got to watch it because they can make you sick. They're not good, most of them, none of them that I know of. They will take dust and try and blow it on you. And it's usually the dust is crushed up bone of somebody that's passed away, of a dead person, is the crushed up bone of a dead person. I don't know if you're familiar with the Navajo Rangers. I'm hoping to talk to one of them here this month. They were set just aside for the whole paranormal side of out in the Navajo area. They were actually Rangers, military police officers that went and investigated Bigfoot sightings, UFO, and they tell the story of a man that was supposedly seen a dog out in his driveway, and it wouldn't leave, and it looked all mangy, and he beat it with a board, and dust flew up off of it. He went and told his wife that there was this weird dog, he had killed it, and he inhaled that dust that come off that dog. Well, they went out there, and the dog was gone. And he became sick, very ill, and went to the hospital, and they said they couldn't find nothing wrong with him. They didn't know what it was. So one of the guys said that they would take him to a medicine man, and they took him in there, and they had him healed, and they told him a skinwalker had attacked him. And that if he would have waited another hour or so, he'd been dead. And the boy of that man wouldn't go in there because he seen a dark entity standing next to him whenever he was inside getting help from this medicine man, the shaman, inside out there in the Navajo area. So a lot of people believe, they call it skinwalker out in Navajo area. They call it that out here too. But, you've got all kinds of reports and stuff from all different native tribes in all these areas. Especially Appalachian Mountains. A lot of people think it's just Navajo, but it's not. You've got all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on in these mountains. Appalachian Little Peoples, the Moon-Eyed, So Clayton, Georgia, perfect example. You know the Tallulah Gorge right there.
Yes.
The locals
Tallulah
there are
Falls.
telling me that the Indians would not go into that gorge because the Appalachian little people live there, and they would not go into that gorge. Yes, I went to the bottom of it, of course. You know, they tell me not to go there. I'm going. But these mountains are so rich in history, and there's so many entities, I believe, that live here. And I believe they're portals. I believe it's a portal. You go back from stories from that I was investigating in Roan Mountain, Georgia, in 1984, I believe it was. 2 people went missing within 2 weeks of each other. And that this little boy went missing right there in Roan Mountain. Him and his mom and them were camping. He goes down to the creek, and it's just like 100 yards from their campsite to get water, and he doesn't return. They search for him. After like 5 days, he reappears. Now, this is time of year where it gets warm during the day, but at nighttime, it gets below freezing. It's in the spring. It's in like March. So this little boy, after they find him after 4 or 5 days, they find him same spot they'd looked over and over. He claims that he went to a cabin that had his dad, or not his dad, but his grandpa in it. His grandpa had been passed away, and he fed him and all this stuff. And the boy should have been, you know, no food, nothing like that. He healthy, wasn't malnutrition, nothing like that. Wasn't dehydrated, nothing. And he claims that he could see his mom, but she couldn't see him. He was screaming, yelling, and waving at her, but she could not see him.
Oh.
Now, 2 weeks after that, there's some young boys up there hiking. And this one boy, it gets warm during the day, so he takes his shirt off. He steps off the trail to use the bathroom. All of a sudden, he's gone. They search for him for like a week. He has no shirt on because he got hot because he took his shirt off. Well, within another week or so, they find him, and he's got a curtain wrapped around him, like off your windows. And he claimed that he went into this old house, and it had curtains up, and he took the curtains off and wrapped them around him to keep warm. They found him close to right where he had not left, you know, right there off the trail. But they'd searched it several times. Now, the weird thing is there are no structures like cabins or old houses anywhere within that vicinity, nowhere near in that area of Roan Mountain.
Wow.
So, you know, you got 2 incidents right there back to back, and you've got several different incidents. Like if you keep following all the way up the mountains, you've got different time frame things. People, Klingman's Dome, talked about a woman and her child had walked down from Klingman's Dome, and there's these little benches you can sit on because it's a 30-minute walk up to the actual dome where you can, from the parking lot of Klingman's Dome up there in the Smokies. And she gets tired. Her and the boy are going to rest. They start down before the husband and the other son, the older son. They sit down on this little bench, and she claims she sat there for 10 minutes. She gets up, her and the boy walk down, and her husband and older son's already down there, and there's tons of park rangers, tons of people down there. They've been searching for her. He said she only sat down there for 10 minutes. They claim she'd been gone for several hours. So there's something, you know, as you go along these things. I've had my own experience, you know, my story with my telephone in Cataloochee Valley, where time had went past or whatever. I physically got sick. I got pictures. All pictures I took during that time went to the past. I've been up to Klingman's Dome at night. I couldn't get all the way up there, so we had to stop at Newfoundland Gap. And that's when, you know who Travis Walton is, of course, Fire in the Sky guy.
That's your friend.
Yeah, me and him and Angelia went up there. It was about midnight in the middle of August. And
let's tell the audience. Y'all know Travis Walton, right? He's the guy who got abducted out in the middle of the forest one night. All of his, it was either at night or the day. I don't remember, but
it was during the night.
To work with him, right?
Yeah, he's in the night.
It was a big ordeal because they watched him get abducted. He went missing, and people thought, they went to the police, right? They thought that the friends had some foul play involved. They didn't know they had to take, I don't know if they had to, but they were taking like lie detector tests and everything, trying to figure out like where he had been.
They thought
where
that
he went.
they had killed him, and they were trying to blame them for murder. And they had to take lie detector tests, and they all passed. Of course, Travis shows up, 5.5 days later, and they made the movie Fire in the Sky about him. I'm good friends with him, and you could tell something has happened with him. But he was with me, him, and Angelia. We go up to the mountain up there at Klingman's Dome, and we're up there, and these strange lights, this fog comes in. Travis is looking up at the sky. I'm like, what's this guy doing? And Angelia is like, what is it? And he goes, there's lights in the sky. I'm like, is it the stars? And you can look, and you can see the stars above the actual cloud. And there's little sparkles in the, he said, there's strange lights in this fog. And it was weird because we're the only ones up there in this parking area, Newfoundland Gap up there. It's about midnight. Now, fog is normal up in the Smokies, but this had these weird lights. Then this old truck come up there, and it killed its motor before it rolled in, and it rolled into the parking lot, killed its engine, headlights, and everything, and rolled into the parking lot.
Must have been a manual transmission.
It was weird because he just turned the lights out and just rolled right into the parking thing. And Angelia is like, we need to get out of here. And Travis still staring up at the sky. And I'm like, this is just now getting good. And he's like, no, we got to go. So I was like, all right. Of course, they made me leave. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff up there around Klingman's Dome up in the Smokies.
Okay. I wanted to kind of circle back around to the fog. Okay. Because not too far from where we went out after the Georgia Bigfoot conference, I had an experience out there one night up in another location in that same area though. We were Tim, I was with Tim. Remember Tim on our team who passed away, part of ERG.
Yep.
And he and I, he passed away. He's one of the guys who walked into the portal, you guys. And so he and I had taken a few people, there's like 3 or 4 people with us, I guess. And we went up hiking up a trail up to a field one night. We were doing some research up there. And as we were leaving to go back down to base camp, we noticed a fog, this really weird fog was following us, Matt. And it wasn't just a regular fog. When I say this fog had an intelligence to it, a consciousness to it, it had a conscious, it was mocking us almost. It was the weirdest thing. I've never had it happen since. But it happened that night where every time we would try to go down the hill to get back out of there, and he and I were the only ones paying attention. The people with us were not so seasoned to be out in the woods. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And but we were noticing it. So I took the lead and tried to get us out of there quickly, and he stayed behind to watch our back, because every time we would speed up, the fog would speed up. Every time we would stop, the fog would stop. And it was imitating everything that we did. And we were not imagining things. And that was probably one of the scariest times that I'd been out there, because I didn't understand what was happening. It didn't make any sense. And so we ended up making it out of there just fine. Okay. But I did want to point out that I have had an experience with fog that was beyond any kind of comprehension. We didn't understand what was happening.
Now that fog is interesting, because I've seen a post today, actually, in an Appalachian group that I'm in, and a man was talking about a fog coming in, but he had Bigfoot sounds in the fog. And he had asked something about the fog. And as we were talking about, like when I was at the Linville Gorge at the Wise Man's View, that fog that was down there, you seen how far down the mountain it was. Whenever that couple left, and it was just me there, I think the video that I did was 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, that fog had come up and surrounded me, and it had that light in it. If you could see in that one picture, that light was coming in with the fog, and it's like it had an intelligence, but it surrounded me, and it was so thick. There was something up with it. I mean, I could tell right away that whatever that light, it was either using it as cover, the fog, or what, I don't know, but it had an intelligence to it. That light had an intelligence to it that was coming up, and it was coming up through the fog. And of course, it started storming. I couldn't see where I was at. In the video, if you see, I'll flip on the light, and you can't see that. You can see all the fog going through my camera and stuff. And I was trying to make it back to my car because it's storming, and I couldn't even. Fog was so thick, and it came up so fast with that light in it that I couldn't even see the path. I mean, I had to look down on the ground and search for the path to walk to my car. That's some pretty thick fog whenever you're when you're standing there trying to look, and it's so thick you can't even look a couple feet in front of you. And
so
it
people,
was like that. Go ahead.
People get very discombobulated and disoriented in environments like that when you are being, you're turned around. You can't see your hand in front of your face when you get in fog like that. And so, there are a lot of people that go missing, and a lot of these times that we're, these things that we're experiencing are out in these national parks, state parks, and things like that, like, government-owned land. So it makes you wonder. This is where a lot of people are going missing, Matt. A lot of people are going missing. So, and I understand that a lot of these cases are people that get lost, or they may fall off the side of a cliff, but we're talking about like the David Paulides stuff, right?
And he warned me. It was funny. He warned me. He's about Clingman's Dome. Whenever we were going up there, he said, people go missing up there. And I said, I know. That's why we're going up there. It was funny. He's like, okay. He said, I don't want to be writing a story about you, though, is what he said.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to be aware. Okay. And that's why, I wouldn't take my kid up there hiking in the middle of the night with all the stuff that goes on out there. It's not a safe place to go wandering off at night. Okay. Unless you are even when you're a seasoned veteran of like Bigfooting and things like that, it's still very dangerous to be out there because of the missing people. Now, what about also, okay, so our teams have experienced portals, and I know one of my teams up there, some of the people on that team that I was with where that fog was had experienced a portal up there before. Okay. So, but it wasn't documented. Okay. It wasn't documented like the Meadow team has. But however, what if people are walking through portals, Matt? Where do you think they're going when they go through that portal?
It's hard to say. I believe it's like mirror universes. You may go back in time. You may, maybe the future. We don't really know. There's been so many cases of it. What was that guy in New York that had, I believe it was 1950s, just appeared out in the middle of the street, just appeared and got hit by a cab driver, and they looked at his identity and all this stuff, and he was from like the 1800s. And his family, they looked back on the case, and that man, of course, he was dead, but he had money from the 1800s. Everything was authentic. His clothing, everything, and his identity. And that man went missing back in the 1800s. His family had reported him missing, that he went out for a walk one night and disappeared. Well, he reappeared in the middle of New York Street in the 1950s and got hit by a car. So, and it's weird because the FBI took him off the missing people report list. My question is, I wonder if he aged. Yeah, you can look it up there.
They took him off?
Yeah, took him off the missing person report list.
From the 1800s?
Yep.
That is weird. That is weird. But you know what? Also, Matt, I just wanted to make a connection here because I had been tasked with the remote viewing target of the green children of Woolpit. And that was out of England, I believe. And either Ireland or I think it was England. Okay. And these kids just showed up out of the blue in this field one day. And Woolpit is actually, it's how you can also describe it as a wolf pit, like where they had dug holes for like the wolves to fall into and stuff, but they call it Woolpit. And so some farmers were out there working, and these two children that were literally green. Their skin was green, but they looked like normal humans, but with green skin. And they didn't speak any language that was known to anyone in the area. And they were just odd. They said they had come up basically from it's almost like a parallel reality or inner Earth, basically. And the boy ended up dying because they wouldn't eat anything. They couldn't eat the food up here. And the girl, I think they were eating bread for a while. They could eat bread or something like that.
Oh, wow.
They were just like they were living just like the humans here, in this realm. They had been tending to some cattle or some kind of livestock for their father, and they just wandered off. They said they didn't have a son where they were from. They just had a ambiance, like some kind of light, but there was no sun there, they said. And so I just think that was really interesting. They kind of came out of nowhere. It was almost like an alternate reality or something, or inner Earth. Wow. And also, I'm sorry, can I say one more thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you had said something about the kid that said that they were that found his grandfather, like he got lost or whatever, and then he was with his grandfather who had died, and he was seeing his mother or his parents, but he was yelling at them, but they couldn't hear him.
Yep, that was in Roan Mountain. Yeah,
Roan Mountain. That sounds like Stranger Things or something like that, or like what is that movie? Silent Hill. It's like you're just on the other side of the veil, like you have died and crossed over, and you're trying to talk to your loved ones.
I don't think he died. I think he just went through a different reality into another consciousness where his grandfather was still alive, and he fed him and all that stuff, and then he come back. So either he went back to the past, or just a different universe, a parallel universe where his grandfather is still alive. Because they say time doesn't exist. So, was that his grandfather currently in that consciousness, or was it the past that he went to? Is what was odd.
Oh my gosh!
But
it is odd.
he could see his family. Now, see this whole area, the Appalachian Mountains, is loaded with stuff like that. So I believe you've got all these different entities, different things. One of my top subjects right now is vampires. Me and my whole vampire thing. What got me kicked off on that was Big Stone Gap, Virginia. They had a vampire named Vampire Rupp, supposedly. And that's probably about 40 minutes from where I live. I'm always going up to Big Stone Gap. And it's actually a Bigfoot sanctuary up there, too, in Norton, just right up the road from it. A lot of Bigfoot sightings, a lot of paranormal sightings. You've got these areas, what I call sour ground. It's kind of like New Orleans. You got all this weird stuff that goes into it. And the ground, it attracts all kinds of entities. Something to do, the veil's got to be very thin there, a lot of energy, different energy. But I'm going to kind of take a turn now because on my vampire kick.
Man, I love it. And I love this too, because I wanted to talk to you about vampires tonight, big time. You brought a bottled vampire to the Georgia Bigfoot conference. And I told you, I said, do not let my son touch that thing. Do not give that to him. And I told my son, I said, don't go anywhere near that thing. Okay. Because if it breaks, it could be hell on earth right there, buddy. And yeah. Do you have that in your house right now?
No, it's outside. I believe it's in a box in my car. But I take it with me. Yeah. You took pictures, didn't you, of it?
I have a picture right now, actually.
Yeah.
It's funny you ask. I actually did pull up a picture, I think. Oh, here it is. Yes. It's a vampire, the bottled vampire. And it has a name.
Yeah, it's Victor Lavoske. Now, supposedly Victor Lavoske had went to the gold rush up in Alaska, and he got attacked by some female vampires, and he had turned into a vampire. Well, there was a professor that had done some studies and claimed that the vampire, if you invite them into a area, like they can't come into your home unless they're invited or whatever. Well, if you invite them into an area, they're obligated to do it. They have to go or whatever. So he figured out, and supposedly he had invited Victor into this bottle and capped it off. And it'll tell you on there, do not open, bottled, I forget what year, 2017 maybe, certain date. So supposedly the vampire's in this bottle. Whether I believe he's in there or not, no. But it's a great conversation piece because it comes along with the whole genie in a bottle, the jinns, stuff like that. Could there be? It could be. You never know. I won't uncork it just because I like, the whole mystery of it. And, but that was another, it's kind of weird because I get on these patterns and this stuff is, brought to me. It's weird because I come across that. Then I had seen something about the vampire in Big Stone Gap. vampire rup. And so I get looking into it. And before I always thought that, vampires folklore, it was, you've heard of the energy vampire, stuff like that.
Yes.
But the more research I've done, for example, Vampire Rupp up in Big Stone Gap, they claim that when he first arrived there, because the coal mines was booming then, and he was from Europe. Well, he was strange. They found a lot of cattle mutilation being drained from blood and livestock and stuff. And then the town drunk, they found his body drained of blood close to Rupp's cabin. Then this person that was doing the elixirs, the snake stuff, they say, oh, this bottle of ointment, whatever, help you, heal you, all that stuff. And he become drained of blood close to Rupp's cabin. These kids had went and followed Rupp up to his cabin. They looked inside one evening, and supposedly they seen him feeding on drinking blood, and his whole cabin looked like Chainsaw Massacre, like bones, all kinds of crazy stuff. So they go back and tell the town people. So they form this mob, and they go up there. Well, Rupp's not up there in his cabin, but they find all the body parts and all this mutilation stuff. So they burn down his cabin, and Rupp's not seen again. But a lot of stuff they was talking about with the cattle mutilation. Well, I come across another thing. I'm like, well, maybe there's something up with this. I've seen a couple other things talking about how vampires would drain the blood of livestock. Then they would take their eyeballs out or their tongue, something to make it look like a UFO or alien stuff. So a lot of these weird cattle mutilations, being drained of blood, stuff like that, supposedly was done by vampires to cover up. And they put, because their greatest protection is people not believing that they're real.
Yeah, like the devil, right?
Exactly. So I'm like, well, there's got to be something, up with this. So a friend of mine, Dale, he's telling me he's up in Colorado, and he's got his big tour bus, and he's a country singer, and he's going to stop and get some gas, and they tell him not to stop at this one location because they asked him if he'd ever seen the movie From Dusk Till Dawn.
I love that movie. Is that Selma Hayek?
Yeah, and George
Antonio
Clooney.
Banderas.
George Clooney and
yeah, well, I mean, I like them as actors.
Quentin Tarantino, yeah. And so it's a bar, basically. But they said that place up there in Colorado, is the same thing. They said it's the real life From Dusk Till Dawn. Do not stop there. And he said they were dead serious about it. So he didn't stop there. He just kept going through there. Well, a friend of mine that I went to school with had mentioned, he asked me something about, tell me a story about when his dad was in the military. He was up in Colorado, and his mom and his dad had left the base. They went out cruising around, and they were in Colorado in the same area, and some local farmers stopped them because, they didn't know who they were. They stopped them, and because they had a lot of their cattle was being mutilated and drained of blood. So I'm thinking, the whole vampire thing, this cattle mutilation, I'm starting to see a connection. And you go back and you start looking at missing people reports in these areas. It's usually pretty high.
Yeah.
So I start doing my research. Of course, it leads me to where else? New Orleans. And
Saint Germain.
Yeah,
you met Saint Germain, Matt. You've met.
I don't know if it was Saint Germain or not, but I'd been to New Orleans, and this is where I got so much info off the locals. I loved it. Everybody talks about this stuff. Of course, I'm up there alone. I stay at the St. Pierre, which is where all the old blues players used to stay at. And as soon as I get there, this energy, that area is off the wall. The French Quarters where I stayed at was pretty wild. I've got a picture on my Facebook, but as soon as I get into the St. Pierre, it's raining outside. That little girl, she opens the door up for me to go in there, hands me my key to my room. And as soon as I walk in there, a footprint, bare footprint, appears on my floor.
It
And I
wasn't
take
there
a picture
before.
of it. Yeah, it's complete bare footprint of a person on my, just appears out of nowhere on my floor. And I'm on the phone to a friend of mine. She's a country singer. She's actually in Germany right now doing a tour. But I'm on the phone to her and I'm like, there's a footprint just appeared. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, you heard me just come in here. She says, not your. I said, no, you know it's not my footprint. Anybody knows me also knows I never go without socks. So even if I was barefoot, I'd have socks on. So, and I take a picture of it. It's on my Facebook. It's a couple
I've
years
seen
ago.
it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's a straight up, it's a feminine little dainty foot.
Yeah. And I was like, and it was weird because then a couple minutes after that, my door pops open. Just enough space for somebody to walk out. And it was weird. It's like whatever was in there appeared and then it was gone and it left. So that was my first experience soon as I first got into the French Quarters. So I start talking to the locals. And if you've ever, they tell me that there's two kinds of vampires. There's one that you're born vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're done. And the other one is they call the dangerous ones that walk amongst us. That they are human form and they have been transformed and they had to feed just like a regular vampire. So they said the other ones are like a different race. And if you've ever seen the old Nosferatu and stuff like that, they kind of look like an alien. And that's what they claim that they were looking like. And they start telling me there's a bar called the Dungeon there. You're not allowed to video inside there. Not allowed to take your phone out, take pictures, anything
No
like
selfies.
that.
No selfies.
Nope, not in the dungeon. And it's weird because once you get down in there, there's a single alleyway. And if you meet somebody, you got to stop and somebody's got to scoot over and try and squeeze through there. It's pretty cool. Now, what led me there was everybody told me that an old vampire hung out in there. That's why you're not allowed to take videos and pictures. And of course, you got the Ursuline Convent there. That is where the first supposedly casket girls had showed up, mail order brides of the old 1700s.
We just covered the casket girls of New Orleans recently. Yeah. Within the past month or so, I've covered that.
I seen that. The casket girls showed up. Everybody else had documentation, but these girls. And nobody couldn't figure out where they came from or anything. Of course, the nuns brought them in. They tell them not to. They put their caskets on the third floor of the Ursuline Convent. I had so many locals tell me about the convent that they don't go in from midnight to 6 a.m. They will not walk around that convent. That's supposedly where the first vampires came from there. And so I'm talking, talking to people about it. So I finally go to the dungeon. And when I get inside the dungeon, I'm sitting there, I'm having a drink, and this man approached me, sits next to me.
Oh my God.
And he's like, what are you here for? I said, what do you mean?
You're like, I'm here to get tied up and whipped. Just kidding.
Yeah. I'm like,
where's the, what is that called? The Iron Maiden. Just kidding.
I don't know. That sounds like a little S&M, but anyhow.
Well, that's what the bar sounds like.
Yeah, the dungeon. It's wild.
Medieval, though. I'm thinking of medieval, y'all. Don't let your minds go there.
It's very gothic. It's very gothic, like whips, chains, leather, just crazy stuff.
There's a dungeon in Atlanta too. So I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
There's a place in Atlanta. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's an old theater. Supposedly vampires live. I got to check out. I forget the name of it, but I've got it documented down because I got to make next trip to Georgia. I'm going to try and stop there.
There's a vampire underworld in Atlanta. A whole vampire cult.
Are they the ones that the wannabe vampires or the actual real?
Probably both. I don't know. I will have to talk to my buddy about that. Yeah.
But because you got a whole, people are just big fans of the vampire stuff, so they want to be vampires, whatever.
The posers.
Yes.
Poser vampires.
But I'm in there and I'm talking to him and he explained it to me. He's like, well, what do you, he's buying me drinks. He's not taking drinks, though. That's what's weird. He's paying for my drinks, but he's not drinking it.
Your blood. He wants to suck your blood.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
And he told me his name was DJ. And he just told me it's DJ. He had no social media. Who doesn't have social media nowadays?
My mom doesn't.
He doesn't have Facebook or anything.
Nope.
But this guy, I mean, he's probably in his 30s, 40s, and he's telling me where to go, who to talk to, but he's talking to me about the respect of the whole area and stuff like that. And he tells me, you know, starts telling me about the vampires. And so it's kind of weird because I'm talking to him this whole time and he knows, you know, something. I'm not from there. Of course, the accent's probably on, so, you know, major notice, but I wasn't really talking to nobody when I was in there. I was just kind of chilling, kind of observing, taking in the energy. And he just comes up out of nowhere. And he sits there with me the whole night, pretty much, chit-chatting. And we met a politician. I'm friends with him now on Facebook. Guy out of Louisville, is a politician from Louisville. He was in there as well. But
politician?
Yeah. He's there. He was there on vacation and stuff. And he was in there talking to us, but he wasn't talking about, you know, the kind of crazy stuff that I do. But that guy he was telling me, go to here to this woman, talk to them, and talking to these homeless people at a certain area. He said, they'll tell you a lot. Just be real respectful, do this and that, and stuff like that. And like I said, it's really weird. He gives me his phone number, and I get his phone number. And so I leave there, and I'm pretty buzzed by that time. Here it is, 4:00 in the morning. It's the middle of the night, middle of the week.
Vampire bait.
Yeah,
vampire bait is what you were.
I'm walking back to my little room in the French Quarters, and this gentleman pulls up in a car, a real nice, fancy car. Dude's dressed up in a suit. He looked like Tyler Perry off of Medea. That's who he reminded me of.
Oh, Medea, what?
Yeah, have you ever seen Medea, the show Medea's stuff?
Yeah, was he dressed? It was like a man dressed like a woman, like an older woman?
No, it was like, he looked like Tyler Perry, the guy that plays Medea.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about, you had a straight up, you had Medea pull up.
No,
okay.
Yeah,
you
but
Tyler Perry
you got Medea, but the guy that plays Tyler Perry, the one that,
yeah.
But he looked just like him, and he had glasses. He was real, he just looked so, you know, like he had money. And
he looked classy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in a suit, nice car, and he pulls up and he puts his window down, and he's like asking me if I want some sexual stuff, you know, and I'm like, and the way he said it,
Lord, man.
you know, it's weird. I was like, no. And he said, okay. And he's like, well, you have a good evening, sir. And it's a weird accent and the way he had done it. And I was like, why would a man with money just ask a random stranger? And my first thought was, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, lure me back to his place. And what do vampires use? They use whatever they can, sexual, whatever, to bring you back, lure you back, and take advantage of you, you know, kill you, drink your blood, whatever.
I can't believe you're alive right now. Are you even Matt? Are you Matt? Are you even the Matt that I know? You might be vampire Matt now.
But it was wild because, and then later on, I come across another guy that comes up to me. And he asked me if I had a quarter. I'm like, a quarter? There's a lot of people come up to me there in New Orleans there that time. And he's like, do you have a quarter? I'm like, a quarter? He said, yeah, I need a bus ride back home. I said, I might have $1, man. So I'm looking around to make sure nobody's going to try it. A lot of crime goes on there. So I'm thinking, you know, somebody's going to try and mug me, pick my pocket, whatever. I'm like, well, I got $1, man. He said, no. Just a quarter. And I was like, a quarter? He said, yes, just a quarter. I don't need $1, anything like that. Do you have a quarter? And I was like, yeah, okay, wait a second, here's a quarter. So I gave him a quarter, and he looked at me and he paused, and he's like, God bless you. Thank you. And he walked away. Now, a friend of mine tells me, have you not heard the whole pirate saying they used to say? They say, have a quarter, have mercy, no quarter, no mercy.
Oh,
and I was like, I hadn't heard of that, but it sounds good. And they're like, if you had to kill people to live, who would you choose to live or kill? Would it be the bad people, the people that are stingy, that won't give, you know, money or anything? She's like, that quarter probably saved your life that night. I said, no, that quarter may have saved his life that night. But but
Oh, you
anyhow,
are the badass monster hunter.
that's
You're
right.
just you. When I said you're vampire bait, I'm being serious. Like you would have whooped his ass. Okay,
I would
but
have tried.
he might
Anyhow.
have gotten a bite in though. I don't know.
Now, see,
I
that's what.
hear they're strong.
Oh yeah, but you seen the flex?
I'm talking about the vampires, man.
I
We know
know.
you're strong. We know you're strong.
It was funny though because so I start going back through and I'm looking, and of course the Count Saint Germain. Everybody knows the story about him.
Yeah.
That supposedly in 1902 the woman had jumped from his balcony, and she was all busted up and said he tried to drink her blood. They show up and Count Saint Germain is gone. He takes everything out of his place. He finds the bottles of wine, but they're really blood in them. And the locals say that he is still around, that he goes by Vampire Jack. He shows up here and there. It's anything with a J. So I'm sitting there thinking DJ, that guy, I'm like, that's weird. He's got a J in his name, DJ, but he didn't tell me his last name, wouldn't tell me no social media. And they tell me that there's two types of vampires, ones that are vampire and the ones that turn. Now, supposedly, okay, you've heard of the Carter brothers there, right?
Yes, I have. I have not covered them yet, but I have covered everything but the Carter brothers.
Well, we're going to talk about them
New
here.
Orleans. Okay, let's do. And first, before we do that, Matt Hooper and David Pardue say hey. Okay, from Carolina Cryptofield Research. They're in the chat. What's up? I just
hey guys.
Messaging with David earlier. So hey guys, they're just some of our buddies, y'all. Okay,
good deal.
Let's hear about the Carter brothers. Okay, because we've talked about Saint Germain.
And I did a census check on Saint Germain. In 1890, there was a Saint Germain that had arrived in New Orleans. If you check the census, from France in 1890. So we do know there physically was a man, Saint Germain, Jacques Saint Germain, that had arrived in New Orleans. So that is a fact. Vampire part we don't know, but if for a fact there was a Saint Germain, Jacques Saint Germain in New Orleans in 1890 arrived. So I know that part is actual fact.
Yes, I've seen the documentation too.
So the Carter brothers, this is where it kind of gets interesting. The Carter brothers, this is where they talk about there's two types of vampires. They claim that you have got to feed off of a person for 4 to 7 days, something like that, for them to turn vampire. The Carter brothers had these, this young girl escaped from their apartment. There was 4 people supposedly in their apartment they were feeding off of. And he went to the police. So the police go back to the apartment and they find like 14 dead bodies inside there, drained of blood. And they had 4 people, well, including the little girl, that they were feeding off. 3 of them are still alive and the little girl. So it's 4. The cops showed up, and these Carter brothers, they're only like 5'5", 5'6", and they had superhuman strength. They fought off the cops, and they jumped off the second balcony where their apartment was, off the rail of the second balcony there. Hit the street and run. The cops go and nab them at their job site. They worked on the docks, and they admitted, they said, we are vampires, that we want to, we don't like doing this. We have got to feed off of humans to stay alive. We don't want to be vampires anymore. So they confessed to it and they hung them. They put them in their family crypt. Well, supposedly they opened the crypt later on, had other family members that, were supposed to be in that family crypt, and the Carter brothers were gone. So people to this day claim they still see the Carter brothers. Now, the locals there were telling me that the 3 other people, besides the little girl, she hadn't been fed on that long, but the other people had been there longer than like the 4 to 7 days. They claimed that one of the people that was being fed off of became a serial killer and had killed 32 people, and all the blood had drained from their victims' bodies. All 32 of them. He had drained the blood from their body. There was another man. He was a serial killer, and he had killed hundreds of people, but they couldn't tell if he drained the blood or not because he dissolved their bodies in acid. Now, like I said, this is just from the locals. They're telling me. They told me that the little boy that they had in there, that when he returned home, they returned him back to his parents. His parents burnt him and their house down, and they claimed that was not their son that they brought back. And
An
like I said,
imposter? It was an
yeah,
imposter,
that he was a vampire basically.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that's what the locals are telling me there. And of course, they tell me where the apartment. And I went by Count Saint Germain to his the corner where his apartment is. While I was there, I went to the convent, and the third floor is sealed shut. All the shutters are sealed shut with the screws that were supposedly blessed by the Pope. Lots of locals are telling me that they have seen people up on top of stuff thinking they're going to commit suicide on top of some of the buildings around the convent. Instead of jumping, they flew up into the air. It was wild. I loved just that whole energy when I was there. And it was weird because it's a couple months later, I get a text from Mr. DJ, the guy I'd met in the dungeon. And that night, he was telling me that there was an old vampire used to hang out in there, but there's too many tourists that come through there now, so he don't show up in there very much. And
he's like, it's not me. I'm just telling you about a friend that I
yeah, he basically he's like, yeah, there was an old
friend.
Yeah, and he
for a
texted
friend.
me, and he's asking me, you know, about my visit and all my strange stuff there, if I found what I was looking for. And he said, you need to come back. We'll hang out, and I'll show you around. He said, we can meet one night, and I'll show you around all these places. And I texted him back, and I started asking about Saint Germain. And after that, I've never heard from him again. And it was weird because I was texting back and forth that same night, and as soon as I mentioned Saint Germain, complete silence. Complete silence.
Do you think it was him?
I don't know.
Oh man. Can I tell you something that I find really odd is that the nuns at the Ursuline convent, they had nails that were blessed by the Pope. Now the Pope had not been there yet. There had never been a Pope there at that point to New Orleans. So they would have had to have either gone and had some nails blessed and brought back, or maybe they just had them to begin with. But people wonder if, and this was kind of a theory we played around with when we were talking about this, about the casket girls that were there, was that actually the nuns there, they had full knowledge that they were vampires, and they were there to kind of like either handle them or to keep them in line, or there was some kind of connection. Okay. There was some kind of connection to like the nuns. Like they had full knowledge that those girls were all vampires. And maybe they were actually smuggling other vampires in their caskets there, or bringing them in via the, dare I say, like the Vatican or the Pope? I don't know.
Very well could be. I've heard, you know, the Vatican and all them, that there's a vampire over all them. You know, I'm sure you've probably heard that theory that runs the whole show.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something up with it. I never believed the whole blood sucking thing until I started investigating that stuff. Now, after being in New Orleans myself, boots on the ground, I would not suggest anybody else go out there alone. Not in that area, especially with the crime and stuff. Just, you know, then you got all the dark entities that's out there. It was weird. This one guy, have you ever seen that? If you could bring up a picture of Papa Legba,
Sure.
the guy from the underworld, this man just out of nowhere appears right next to me. He's walking. He's got his face painted weird. He's got a top hat on. He's got all these necklaces on. He's walking with a cane, and he's right next to me. He's saying all kinds of stuff, and I'm trying to ignore him because, you know, you're walking. This strange guy just comes up to you in the middle of the night, and he's walking out of nowhere, and he's keeping pace with me. I'm moving pretty quick, and this guy's got a cane and his top hat, and he's right there, right along with me. And he's mumbling all this stuff.
Uh-oh.
And he looked very similar. He could have been the guy from the underworld, the guy from the crossroads who allows, you know, passage or not.
Oh yeah, could be. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of voodoo priests and priestesses and voodoo queens and things in New Orleans too. I'm sure that brings in the, you know, for the tourist vibe and stuff like that. I mean, I think a lot of people know New Orleans by the voodoo, right? Yeah,
that's you know, Marie Laval and all that stuff that's going on there. And there's a little island out from there, somewhere around there, that I forget her name. I'm wanting to go to that island. You can still hear her scream and all this stuff, but she supposedly cursed the area. That she tried to warn them of a hurricane or something coming through, and they thought she was crazy or something. I don't know the whole story behind it. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, that looks very similar to the man that was walking beside me with the hat and everything. It's kind of crazy. And he just come out of nowhere. He's just speaking all kinds of weird stuff to me, and I'm trying to ignore him. Yeah, exactly right there. He had this weird cane. He's walking, and I was trying to ignore him, but
trying to ignore.
Yeah,
just act normal. Keep look. Just look straight ahead.
Yeah, like keep walking. This weirdo here just comes up out of nowhere, trying to talk to me.
Oh no!
But my whole time there, you have to be on your toes because there's so many pickpockets and stuff, and. There's one thing, they'll come up to you and they'll try and mug you and stuff, and they'll come up to you and they'll tell you what was it? There's a group of guys that come up and they told me, they're like, I can tell you, I bet you $20 I can tell you where you got them shoes at, and I can tell you what state you got them shoes at. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, no, guys. As he said, you got them shoes at right here on your feet. In New Orleans, that's where you got them at, right here on your feet in New Orleans. You owe me $20, and they'll try and intimidate you. And so a bunch of other guys stand up and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna have to pay us now," you know. And me, of course, you know, I kind of open my jacket and I got a gun on me, and I'm kind of like, "Not today, boys, not today." And they're like, "Whoa," you know, they kind of stand back. And
you're like, "Don't you know I'm crazy?"
And that guy drops down, starts trying to clean my shoes.
Oh man.
And I said, buddy, and I opened my jacket again, and he jumps back. And I said, look, I said, I'll give you $5 for effort. You're trying to clean shoes. You're trying to scam me. I said, I'll give you $5. I said, just for effort. And he's like, oh, thank you. God bless you. He tried to hug me. I said, nope. I said, don't try and grab whatever. You can't trust them people. They're coming up. I had a guy come in off the streets. I'm in this place called Bourbon Street. It's called Beer and Pizza, and I got a huge big piece of pizza. I got 2 of them. I've already ate one. I'm halfway eating the other one. This man comes off the street there, and he's like, man, I'm starving. You got any money for food? I said, no, man, I ain't got no money for food. I said, if you're really hungry, you can have the rest of this piece of pizza. And I've eaten half of it, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, you serious? And he grabs it and just scarfs it down right there. And he says, thank you. And he took off running out of the place. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Poor fella, he was hungry.
Yeah, I mean, he was wearing nice clothes. Stuff didn't look like your homeless type person. He was wearing nice clothes. Wasn't dirty or anything. Just
a lot of drinking. They call it Bourbon Street for a reason, right? Too.
Yeah, and you could tell there's a lot of strung out people, drugs. Just all kinds of crazy stuff there. And I was like, man, this place is pretty wild. So of course I had to go back.
Well, that's kind of, I want to say, a breeding ground, dare I say, for things like high strangeness and vampires. Werewolves. Listen, there's werewolves in New Orleans, too. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. I'd heard somebody say something about some werewolves, that they had seen a werewolf or something there.
Mm-hmm. Artemis has a question in the chat. I was asking, how do you hunt a creature of the night? See, that's what Matt and I do best. Okay. But, Matt, I'll let you answer this.
It depends on the creature.
What do you think? Okay.
Depends on the creature. What type of creature is he talking about? For a lot of like your cryptid stuff, like Bigfoot sightings, stuff like that. Most of the time you get a lot of activity when there's one that goes, I don't know, he just kind of goes off the rails. For example, 2003, I was investigating in La Follette, Tennessee, Campbell County. And for 2 weeks straight, you had this rogue Bigfoot skunk ape that was terrorizing all the locals. Took a picture of the skunk ape from the Mayak area and the Bigfoot patty, and all the witnesses said it looked like the skunk ape, the orangutan type. But it was terrorizing the people there for 2 weeks straight. It was in news. Then supposedly the government come in there, killed it, supposedly, what this one local told me. And they take it down from the news. But all the pictures that I asked of the local stuff, it looked like the orangutan type. Those are the areas you look for. If it's Bigfoot type activity, cryptid activity, you look for park closures. I got a spot right now in Mississippi. I go through and I notice the rest area closed. So I go looking. All the campgrounds around that rest area is closed. So I know, okay, they closed the rest area. It's back to the woods. All the campgrounds near it is closed. That means there's something there that they're, terrorizing. I said, next thing they're going to do is a controlled burn to push it to another area. Come through there a couple of weeks later. What's happening? A controlled burn. So that area, stuff like that, after you've been in this game a while, you see the clues, you see it's not directly saying, hey, this is due to this, but you see a pattern. So that kind of stuff is for the Bigfoot, Dogman type activity. You look for park closures all of a sudden, for no reason or some stupid reason they claim. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're learning to see all the signs, y'all, as far as even in our national parks and stuff,
Yep.
Whenever the gates are locked and closed down the forest roads, you can't get to places, and then they're doing controlled burns. And it's really just the spots where all the Bigfoots are.
Yep.
Okay. So we start getting, I get suspicious. I'm speaking on behalf of me. Okay. I get very suspicious, Matt. And also I get irritated because then I have to park my truck and I have to get out and hike.
Yep.
To get to where I need to get to. And it's irritating. Okay. But I also, it makes me think like, well, they must know, there's some Bigfoots out there. There's park rangers and the DNR and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know. I wanted to also touch on this before we go tonight, of course. I think you got the same email. We got a little debrief of I'm not going to say exactly where, but the head of one of our teams, Trey, had sent in for a FOIA request on an incident that happened where somebody had died in one of these national parks down here in the South somewhere. And he got this FOIA request back, and it said something about, I don't remember the exact line items on it, but I do remember it was like cults were living out in the national parks. And it wasn't just like one, it was like 5 or something that police had found out there. And we're talking about like religious, I don't know if they were considered religious cults, but they said that witchcraft was involved. They literally said witchcraft was involved. Did you read that email?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I did. That's more than one case now of people find dead out in that area that we research.
Oh yeah, well there's also been bodies found recently too in some of these places.
Yeah.
But these are national parks, and these are where it's hundreds of thousands of acres, millions of acres across the United States. People are going to pass away. And it's not always foul play, right? A lot of people go missing. A lot of people do pass away. Some people go out there to unalive themselves and stuff. I mean, it is what it is. But we have to be careful about the cults and the people go out there to live off grid and stuff, and it could get a little dangerous for us researchers out there. What about the feral people? Before we did the show today, you and I were messaging, and we mentioned Dennis Martin, that case out of the Great Smoky Mountains. And, that's a really strange case, right? And some people believe that child was potentially taken by Bigfoot or feral people or something like that. But is that a thing up there? And I know you live up in Virginia, but we're out all throughout the Appalachians.
I'm only an hour and a half from the Smokies, so I've been out there numerous times. And yeah, especially on the North Carolina side, you hear of all these feral people, these reports, and they are like caveman type. They're not just like a lot of people say, oh, these old men went out there just to live, stuff like that. No, these people have got the kind of like a Neanderthal look. They've got the raised brow, all these descriptions and stuff. And that's the whole area that comes up from Roan Mountain. I believe that there's like where I was at, Cataloochee Valley, and it's right across the Tennessee border into North Carolina. And that's where you have all your activity usually along that Tennessee, North Carolina border. And that's where I had that incident where I went to Cataloochee Valley. I get out, I'm looking around, I'm taking pictures. All of a sudden I feel physically sick. I look down at my phone, and the date and time had changed. And I get out of there, and of course I'm sick to my stomach. I'm puking. As soon as I get out of that area, it clears up. My phone goes back normal time and stuff. Well, the pictures and stuff that I took during that time frame went back in time. So they are on, I'm looking for them, and they're not right there on my gallery. I'm like, well, what in the world? I just took them. I go back in the date, and they go back to the date and time that my phone had changed to during that time. And this is up from Roan Mountain. You got that whole line going up through these mountains here. So I'm wondering if there isn't a time frame thing. The veil gets thin. Maybe I got caught in a little bit of it. Maybe these people from the past are getting caught on this side, this date and time, and they're stuck here. And they're just living and adapting in the mountains. I would have never believed it until I had that experience with my whole thing. All the pictures, everything, they're taken in the wintertime, and now they're in my August gallery during the summer, but yet you got all these trees with no leaves and stuff on it, and I felt sick. I was throwing up. Pretty crazy. It's like I don't know, I got caught something, the energy, something it just made me puke. I mean, I was really sick, and that's
Probably,
when,
I don't mean to interrupt, but maybe it's a little bit of radiation or something. Maybe there was some kind of portal that you through or something.
Exactly, because it's like the veil was real thin, and maybe I was caught a little bit in it, because that's when my blood had dropped and everything. Later that week I had to go to the hospital, and they couldn't explain, why my hemoglobin was down. And of course I've asked them recently if radiation could do that, and they said absolutely. So
yeah. Yes. And E4 Rockin', thank you for the comment, says, any thoughts on these specific areas being in between specific ley lines of megalithic structures? Any kind of ley lines. I think ley lines play a big part of what we're out there doing and the activity that we're experiencing. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of your like your quartz and minerals and stuff in that area that amp it up. I believe that has a lot to do with it. All the minerals and stuff that's out there, and the water, all that stuff has a big play in it. I believe it's all put together. You get, especially up in these Appalachian Mountains, you get the right mixture of things in certain areas, and you got a lot of weird activity always going on there. So it's got a huge part to do with it. I believe, you got your ley lines for the energy, because it's got to be a high energy area normally. And if you've got a ley line that's cutting through there or close to it, and you got all these quartz and crystals and, all these other rocks and minerals that amp it up, then it's hard telling, I believe that's big time source to a lot of it. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. We actually just did I did a show on Thursday night about remote viewing some of these giant tree stumps. They're actually mesas, but they look like tree stumps all over the world. And one of those was the Devil's Tower out in, I think it's Wyoming. And it seems as though that might be, if it is a tree stump, a giant tree, if it is, there's a chance that it is like petrified. There's like, it's made out of crystal, like it's crystallized. And so that's, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind had a big scene in it where like the UFO came down over that. That's the Devil's Tower right there. And so it makes you wonder, like, what does Steven Spielberg know? They're always putting out soft disclosure, right? And maybe the UFOs are attracted to that crystal that was in this, what is a tree stump, okay? Or whatever's in that. It's just a big conductor, like a big gigantic piece of quartz, basically.
Oh, so, yeah. That's
a connection.
I think there was, I forget what type of mineral or something out there where Travis Walton was abducted up there in those mountains, up there in Snowflake, Arizona. They went back to the site back in 2014, and right where the abduction had taken place, the trees on the inside where the craft was, radiation had made the trees grow larger on that one side facing the area of the craft in that area. So radiation and all these crystals and huge part of this stuff.
That's wild. That's super wild. Hey, look, we've got our friend in the chat tonight. We got Harold Denton up in here.
Oh, hey, Harold.
Who says he's going four-wheeling down in Cott County, Tennessee. I was just in Cott County about a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago with some of the guys. He's going tomorrow on Rocky Top and Hall's Top Trails by Del Rio. If anybody wants to go find Harold Denton, y'all know where to find him tomorrow. Okay.
Tell him
don't
let that new truck break down on him like his last one did.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for
being here.
He
bought a brand new truck and that engine quit on him. He had to get a whole new Whole new truck.
Oh no.
Brand new
Oh,
truck.
no.
That's what you get for buying a Chevy, buddy. But anyhow,
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Toyota
But
Tough is what he needs. But
yeah, he
not
likes to get
looking
out
for
there and
sponsors.
Bigfoot. He's got a nice truck, actually. He does. We saw him at the the Georgia Bigfoot conference or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember
I'm
last
pretty
time.
good friends with him. Me and him went and ate at the Woodburger Grill, I don't know, a couple months ago.
Oh, the Wood Booger Grill.
Yeah, over in Norton.
Okay.
We went up to the area where the Bigfoot sanctuary is, but we couldn't. They had it blocked off. You couldn't go over to Flag Rock where the statue and stuff of the Bigfoot is. But
Oh yeah.
me and him went up there not too long ago.
Oh,
A lot of
man.
snow up there.
Well, I do know that I have a good time hanging out with y'all, and y'all are a hoot. And we have a lot of activity out there, Matt. Whenever, especially when you're around, I like to think when I'm out there too, there seems to be something happens when I'm out in the woods almost every time I go out there. And do you think it's the land that attracts all the high strangeness, or do you think it's the people that attract the high strangeness?
Could be a little bit of both. There's something out there, and it knows. Like, it was kind of a cool thing. I was reading up, and you're familiar with Mount Shasta, right? Supposedly
Yes.
the
I was gonna bring that
Lemurians.
up.
Yeah, the Lemurians, supposedly people have seen them, but they said that they only allow certain people to witness them. So I think it's very similar, like with us. If you have a higher vibration or whatever, you walk around kind of like a light bulb. So if there's something in that area, then it's like, hey, it's probably curious with us. Just, why can they see us, or why can they, I believe it's very similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, they might be in the area, but if they notice us, then they're curious just as well.
That's right. And I wanted to bring up, I think this was at Mount Shasta. I can't 100% recall right now, but one of my favorite remote viewing targets, Robot Grandma. It's
with the little boy.
The Robot Grandma. I had pins made, Matt. Okay. It's like, I had pins made. My not Hunt Club, my Patreon members, the VIP Patreon members have gotten these before a while back. I was tasked as a blind remote viewing target of Robot Grandma. And I think that really actually ties in to some of these missing children reports and stuff that we were talking about earlier, even with Dennis Martin and stuff. But this was a little boy who got kidnapped by who he thought was his grandma.
Yeah.
Taken into a cave at Mount Shasta, I believe, at a campground.
Yeah.
And, it was wild. It turned out it wasn't his grandma. It was a woman who looked like his grandma. And he said that she was actually a robot. And when his real grandma said, well, why do you say she was a robot? He said, because she looked like she was controlled with a remote control and her eyes didn't look right. So interesting story. Now,
is it Mount Shasta what's his name? I'm trying to think of the guy's name that had said that it went into there and he had found tunnels and stuff of an ancient civilization in there.
There's retired Lieutenant Colonel Billy Fay Woodard.
Is he the one that's supposed to show up the day that he was going to lead the people in there, and then he just disappeared the morning before he was supposed to go or whatever, and nobody's ever heard from him since?
Well, my buddy Tyler Koala of Journey to Truth podcast tasked me with a blind target of that guy's testimony. I don't know if this is the same person or not, but he was actually, hey, Patrick, he was actually claimed to be a liaison between the U.S. military and the Lemurians. And he talked about his testimony, said that he would go down to the 27th floor below Area 51, get on a bullet train and go under to Mount Shasta, and where he would be the liaison between the Lemurians and the government, basically. And he always wore this like crown that had like a quartz rock or something in it over his third eye. And he was an interesting character. Okay. But he was a real person. And he's since disappeared. People think he went to go live with the Lemurians under Mount Shasta. But he was, I don't know if he was going to take people there. So it may be a different story, maybe another account, but similar.
There was somebody who was supposed to lead an expedition down in there, and he kept it secret for years, and then he finally came and got a team together, and the next morning the team was there waiting on him, and he never showed up. I have to look into it and see, because that whole I'm wanting to hit Mount Shasta. Of course, New Orleans this year. Mount Shasta is definitely, I want to hit it soon, within the next year or so. Mysterious Mountains. Of course, I've stayed right outside of Area 51. That whole tall white people was in that, what was it, Indian Hills area. And that's where I stayed at. I didn't know about it at the time, but I had slept in my car down that trail where the Indian Hills area was, where the tall whites supposedly have a base underground. But definitely got to hit Mount Shasta. That's definitely on my list. I got to go back to New Orleans. Several things around New Orleans I got to hit. But this year I've actually haven't done a whole the past year. Most of my research has been around Boggy Creek out in Fouke, Arkansas. I've done a lot of research out there. And
I got to go out there with you sometime.
Yeah, it's awesome. Bad thing during summertime, those mosquitoes are horrible. I mean, they are horrible.
So don't go now.
Yeah,
everything's horrible right now, and it's hot and muggy, and the air's thick, and the snakes are out. Okay, so
that's true.
Yeah. We just got to put on our snake boots, get some snake chaps like Bob used to have. Okay,
there you go.
Get out there and sweat your butt off. Stay hydrated. Right. Man, this has been a fantastic show tonight, Matt. I mean, I know we could talk for at least another hour tonight, but
oh gosh, I've done so much that
it's getting late.
You could go on any topic. Like I said, I've been from Maine to the Florida Everglades, out to California, Death Valley, Area 51, Fouke, Arkansas, Oklahoma. I've been everywhere doing research.
Oh yeah. I mean, we definitely would love, we as in me and my audience, we would love to have you back, Matt, and to come back and talk some more with us. In the future, let's save it for next time. How about that?
Sounds good.
And that way you're gonna have to come back on the show. Okay.
Sounds good. I could cover all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. And this is awesome. Well, okay, so you said you've got more research coming up. I mean, you always pop up every time I'm out in the woods. You always end up showing up anywhere I'm at, it seems like. And so I love hanging out with you and getting to go. Well, I was about to say boogering. Boogering is the word I've been using lately. To go Bigfooting and stuff. So, what do you have coming up right now? Any conferences? You and I are going to be at a couple conferences together.
Yeah, those conferences I'd have to look it up, but you've got there's one in Burnsville coming up, and then there's one Bigfoot. Murphy. Yeah, maybe in the UFO one in is it Piedmont University again coming up? Do you have that list?
We got this one. Well, I've just got this one. Yeah. The dates kept changing, so I didn't put them all up.
So I'll be at that one speaking. I'll be at that one speaking, and there's two others in August that I'll be speaking at, I believe.
There's some North Carolina Bigfoot conferences. I don't have flyers for those. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go to those ones, but I will be at the UFO one, and you'll just have to check out Matt's Facebook page. I'll tell everybody about your Facebook page. Yeah,
I've got Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization, and of course my regular Facebook page. I put a lot of my regular stuff just mostly on I've been neglecting Mountain Empire, but I need to put more on there. I need to do more videos too when I'm out investigating for my YouTube channel. So
yeah, it's hard to get footage sometimes when you're out there trying to really be in the moment.
Yeah, a lot of times I just forget. I don't even think about video, and I'm just out there trying to investigate or whatever, and last time when I was out there at Brown Mountain Lights, I was like, I got a little bit of service, I'll just go live, and of course you've got a couple lights here and there and some strange activity there. So that's what I try and do. I'll try and do more live video and stuff. Yeah. Well, you're doing awesome, Matt. You're doing awesome. And I do appreciate you coming on the show tonight. And, no problem.
Man, we went all over the country tonight with all the different cryptids. I bet y'all weren't even prepared for this, were you, audience? This was
kind
awesome.
Of scattered there, but
no, it was amazing. It was amazing. And it just highlights how diverse you are with all of your cryptid research. You're not just out there hunting Bigfoot and Dogman or whatever. You're experiencing everything. And so you are a magnet to the high strangeness, Matt. You are. But it's because you go looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all linked together. Yeah. You said Dogman again. That just reminded me. I've been to LBL hunting Beast of LBL too. So I've been all
Well,
over the place doing all kinds of stuff.
dang it. Let's talk about that next time you come on the show. We'll highlight that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
We'll save it.
Whatever you
Yeah,
want
we'll
to do.
save that one. Let's save that one for sure. And yeah, let's just do that. Because man, this is amazing. And what about that? Okay, let me just ask you one last thing before we go. What about that UFO video with the orb and the aliens? You know, I got to ask you about it again. Do you think you'll ever come around to showing that to the public, other than its conferences? And if you do, will you show it on my channel?
If I ever do
Bring
it,
over
I'll
here.
do it on your channel. But
Okay, bring it over
I
here.
don't know. I don't know if
Okay.
if I'll do that or not though, because like I said, I'm pretty loyal, and I made a deal. So
I have a question. What about this? What if you were to find out who that family is and you asked their permission one day, and they said yes? Would you do it?
probably, yeah. I mean, I know the family, but
okay. Well, just tell them that the Cryptid Huntress would love to interview them one day if they ever wanted to be public. Okay. I would love that, man. Because honestly, that video did change. It opened my perspective. It didn't change my perspective on things. It answered a lot of questions that I had. And so I'm just glad. I'm just very blessed and thankful that you showed that to me, and to Barry Littleton as well when we were live that first time we met, so that we could expand our minds and to understand what we're talking about a little bit better. Because I think it's important as people who are conveying our experiences to the general public, and all these wonderful people who are in my chat who are listening right now, it gave me a better grasp on what I was dealing with out there when I saw that video. Okay. And it's not all man-made stuff. These were real aliens. These are real aliens, right, man?
The world is not as we have been shown.
Mm-hmm. It's not. It's not. Do you think we'll ever get full disclosure with the public?
No.
Why? Why do you think we won't?
Because they won't have control like they do now.
Bingo. That's what I think too. So guess what? We are the disclosure.
There you go.
We are, you and me and everybody in this chat tonight, and everybody who's listening. We are the disclosure.
And I know I'm being followed because I know I'm close to the truth, because like I said, what was it? The July 2018 Smithsonian Institute magazine had a comment, had a little section about me in there, and I never interviewed with them or anything. So they still had a article about me in there. You know who Smithsonian, they cover up everything. So if I've got their attention, then I must be on the right track.
That's right. That's right. That was pretty shocking, right? When you saw your name in the Smithsonian magazine.
I just Googled my name and it popped up, and talking about my encounter. But I always tell everybody, I'm not trying to prove it to the world. I'm looking for answers for myself. And that's the first thing they emphasized on that article. If you look it up in July 2018 Smithsonian Institute magazine, that I am not trying to prove it to the world. I'm just looking for answers for myself. And they emphasize that in that. So I think you get in a lot of trouble if you're trying to prove it to the world. You ever notice that the missing 411, old David, he always says, he won't give his explanation to what he thinks it is. He just puts the evidence out there and lets you decide. I believe that's his way of being able to keep continuing it.
I think that's a very good observation, Matt. It is. I think that David Paulides is smart for doing that too.
Exactly.
He was a Bigfoot field researcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, makes you wonder. What do you think he thinks is taking all these people? What do you think?
Probably a lot of the whole Bigfoot UFO connection. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he just can't say, hey, it's this, taking that. Because you got a combination of both. The whole Bigfoot and UFO connection. There's a lot to deal with that. And if you just say Bigfoot and UFO or whatever, everybody always puts Bigfoot under this one umbrella if they see a bipedal creature, but there's a lot more to it than that. You got different types of Bigfoot. You got the alien type creatures that are hairy, and actual flesh and blood type creatures, the skunk ape type, that's more animals. You got the spirits, you know, what they call the people of the woods. Time they see or talk about a bipedal creature that's got hair on it, that would say it's Bigfoot. And they try and put it under one typical thing, but there's multiple different types of bipedal creatures out there with hair. Mm-hmm. Whether it be UFO, alien, many different species, many different things. And they're not all the same just because they're bipedal and got hair.
Oh man,
that makes
Matt,
any sense.
I think we're getting some interference here with the internet connection a little bit. As soon as I asked you the all important question, what do you really think's going on? Of course, it started breaking up a little bit. Yeah, but we still heard your answer though. Unless it's on my end, I think it's on your end. But it was when you were answering. That was a very good question. That was a good answer though. Yeah.
Okay.
What I heard, it was just broken up just a little bit. But
yeah, it hadn't glitched or anything on mine.
No.
Yeah, it hasn't glitched or anything on my side.
Really, it might be.
Yeah, nothing on my side.
Okay. Well, we heard it. Okay, maybe it's on my end. There's just interference somewhere. Yeah, for sure. But I guess this is a cue. This is my cue to go ahead and call it a night, y'all. And again, Matt, thank you so much for being here tonight. You guys, please go over to Mountain Empire. Let me pull this up. Mountain Empire Cryptid Research Organization. It's MECRO, MECRO, on Facebook. And you guys, y'all go over there and follow Matt over there with all his adventures and everything. And you can get a list of all the places he'll be speaking. And Matt does show the video, you guys, sometimes at these public events, okay, of the UFOs, the orbs that turn into the aliens and then turn back into orbs and shoot back off into the air. Okay, so Matt, thank you so much for being here tonight. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, please come back and see me, y'all, everybody, on Monday. Of course. You're welcome here anytime, Matt. You're always welcome. We have one last question, because I started this question. Where can you buy a bottled vampire from JoJo? She wants to know, where can people buy a bottled vampire, Matt?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'd come across somebody. I was at I can't remember where I was at, where I bought it. Someplace over in, was it North Carolina maybe? Yeah, I was in North Carolina at some festival. They had a bunch of like flea market people or something out. It was like a lot of vendors is where I got it. And they told me the whole story about it, and that's where I bought it from. I'd probably just Google it. I'm sure people will have it somewhere, have a bottled vampire. That's the first time I've ever seen one. The only time I've ever seen one, so I had to get it.
Oh my gosh. Well, we just did a show on the Labubu dolls, okay? And those are like possessed demon dolls or something all the kids are fighting over today. Imagine if all the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls had demonic possessions to them, and we were fighting over those at Kmart too when we were kids. Okay, so.
Oh wow! I had I got a Caccini doll over in when I was out in Arizona, and a Caccini dolls, but the Hopi Indian made them out of some kind of cottonwood. And they were like these little monsters or demons that would come out from the holes in the ground or something that would represent certain things for the natives. And they made these little Caccinis. And the Indian, the Native American that was at the place where I bought this, it was real Caccini dolls, they said, made out of the cottonwood. Claimed that his Caccini doll, that he had went to sleep and he had woke up and it moved across the room on him and stuff, but he also told me that he was doing peyote at the time, so he wasn't sure.
Of course. Like, I'm a little confused. It was definitely talking to me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He claimed that he still believes that there was something up with that, but
it's like, I don't care how high I was, that thing was talking to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well, it is what it is. Oh my gosh. You can't discount it. It was his experience.
Yeah, I mean, and these were full-blooded Native Americans. Somebody come in there and was wanting to take their picture, and the grandma that was running the place. She said, no, absolutely no pictures of us. They wouldn't allow pictures of themselves. And you know how the old stories go, Native Americans wouldn't let you. And they were still firm on it.
Oh my gosh.
It was a cool place.
Yes, that sounds pretty cool. And you gotta respect people. If they don't want their picture made, don't take the picture. And they might be vampires. I'm just kidding. And Andrew says vampire bottles are going to be for sale at the conference. No, they're not. We're not selling those at my shop either. Okay, Andrew. World Woman Goods will not be having bottled vampires. I promise y'all. It wouldn't even be. I couldn't even do that as a joke. Okay, that would be just bad karma on my part, y'all. So I've tried to clear up karma, y'all, and that's just a bad one. But anyways, well, Matt, keep that vampire bottle put away, please.
I'm going to open it up on our next trip.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. But anyways, well, Matt, thank you so much for being here. You guys have a wonderful night. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. And I want to thank Kent Baxter. Thank you so much for that super sticker tonight. And Long Island Bigfoot, thank you for being a member of the Hunt Club for 15 months. And also, and Maureen, I saw what you sent me today too. I'm going to send you a message after the show today. Thank you so much for that. You guys, please come see me next week. I'm going to be down in Florida. If you're in Florida, come see me at the Full Disclosure Now conference. It is coming up next week. I'll be there on Friday. I will be back here live on Monday, y'all. So please come back and see me on Monday. But again, this is the conference where I'll be next Friday down in St. Petersburg, Florida. No vampires in bottles. Don't worry, but I will be there. And so everybody, please stay safe out there, y'all. Don't live in fear. Okay, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And but stay attentive. Keep your head on a swivel. We are living in weird, crazy times, right, Matt? Things are crazy out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just take care of yourselves and your families. And I'll see y'all back here on Monday. Y'all have a wonderful night, and I'll see y'all next time. All right. See you, Matt.
Good night,
everyone. We
everyone.
will see y'all later. All right, bye.